Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 11th monthly TWitWoW Q&A. I haven't even added a title to this thing properly yet, just because I didn't know which questions to cherry pick and put into my little format where I have 3 questions, and the first one is all in like standard format with a question mark at the end, and then the second one is all in caps with a question mark at the end, and the third one is all in caps with a question mark and an exclamation point at the end. I didn't bother doing that. It's your 11th monthly TWitWoW Q&A. We're answering questions that you guys have been asking since April 28th, all the way up until today. John, are you psyched?
Oh, brother, we have got, I think by last count, 64 questions tonight. So, as always with Q&A, folks, take a deep seat, because our lives belong to you now for the next few hours. But yes, I am psyched. You guys always give such a very unique variety of questions, whether they're wrestling-based or more personal. You know, like, you guys always come at us with something that always just makes me smile, or always makes me go, huh, I really didn't expect that. So I'm excited to see what questions those are tonight. So whenever you're ready to get into this, partner, I
You
am.
know, I kind of feel like we need to do some tagging on Twitter, because our first questions are from Ella, and she's not in chat that I know of, but I'm sure she's going to want to hear our answers as we go. So unfortunately, I don't see her in chat, but we do have her questions first. James, you're asking us to do yours first, but we go in chronological order. It's first come, first serve. And we had like 15 questions asked by people before you did. So, next time be faster.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be such a skank about it. Maybe be a bit more prompt with your question submissions, and then maybe you'd be first at something in your life. I know it's a foreign feeling to you, and that really hasn't changed tonight, so suck it up, Cupcake. Anyway.
All right, so let's just start with Ella. Let's just break the glass, tear the Band-Aid off, pull the freaking splinter out. Ella has 3 questions, with the first one being, what are your thoughts on veganism?
You want to go first on this one? Pop the cherry?
Sure, yeah. So I think that veganism is kind of an extreme measure, but I personally wish that I was, physically capable of being a vegetarian. I wouldn't necessarily want to be a vegan, but as far as veganism goes, I think it is a relatively honorable decision to make, to be a vegan, even if I don't necessarily 100% agree with it. And I'm sure that there are plenty of studies done that say that people who are vegan or vegetarian are healthier than everyone else. But, there are all kinds of different ways that you can divide the population up and say this group's healthier than that group or whatever. But regardless, as far as veganism goes, make your own decisions, but don't tell other people how to live their lives. And I kind of wish that I could be a vegetarian, but most vegetables literally trigger my gag reflex, so I can't really do that. So, John, what about you?
Dude, I have an interesting relationship with veganism, because I've always wanted to do it. Because, I mean, the philosophical literature I've read on the subject, I mean, the arguments certainly are strong, both from a like ethical treatment of animals perspective, and then on a broader ecological perspective, because, such mass meat consumption apparently is pernicious to the environment. And then you've got the world studies done, like, oh, eating these types of meats like increases your risk of colon cancer, like all that stuff, right? So the argumentation seems robust, but I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy meat. Intellectually, I can grasp the arguments, but on a social level, I don't adhere to them. You know what I mean? So it's like I can appreciate it, but damn, are burgers delicious, right? That's what it comes down to for me. And I'm not going to put a false face on it. Do I wish I could give it a try? Absolutely. Particularly because there are certain fruits I love and this and that, but I don't think we live in a society where it's not necessarily economical. And then there are just people that I think on a dietary level, like, they just wouldn't be able to do it for one reason or another. I mean, one thing that I totally get on board with is shrinking the sugar industry, because I think sugar's in absolutely everything, and veganism, I think that's another attractive point of it. But yeah, I mean, I love too much meat too much to give it up. I do like it, and I very much respect people that are able to abide by it. But at this point in time, it's not for me. But maybe in the future that'll change, and I would be quite happy if it did. So those are my thoughts on veganism.
All righty. I guess we can move on. You've got this question, since you made me answer the first one first. What are your thoughts on Islam?
I really chewed on this question quite a bit when we were going over the questions last night. And look, I am an atheist, so my thoughts on all religions are the same. I do think they're grounded in a kind of falsehood, and those falsehoods can breed violence and bigotry and etc. However, I also am not a fan of crude reductionisms. There are different facets to everything in life. And I do think Islam has a beautiful side, which I would say for Satanism or Christianity or this one or that one. It's just a matter where you look. Like, I remember one very inspiring thing I read. I think it was when those black churches got burned. I believe it was in South Carolina. These churches got torched. And the first group to raise money to rebuild them were Muslim groups. They rallied around, they got the money together to rebuild these churches. Yes, are there radical sects? Absolutely. But, one of the people I look up to, Malcolm X, he was a big believer in Islam, especially towards the end of his life. That's what actually got him to come together with white men as well as black men and really just start building that coalition, were the teachings of Islam. So I think there's power and beauty in all religions. It's just how you utilize it. Is it for me? No, because I think it's grounded on fallacious reasoning. But for the people that it is for, I think you can do good with it if you want to. And it's just a shame that a religion with such a large following, such a significant population, gets demonized for Western interests simply because of a very small yet very radicalized sect. So I have no personal problems with Islam. I reject it like I would any other religion. If anything, I actually have sympathy for Muslims because I think, again, very radical groups like ISIS and others really give the whole of them a bad rap, which I think we take as much responsibility for as far as media and everything else goes. Like, again, no clumping people together, no reductionism. So it's pretty much my thoughts on that. What about you?
Yeah. Just first of all, ditto most of what you said. I'm not going to say that I agree with everything you just said, but what I will say is that I don't really approve of any actual kind of religion, any kind of organized religion, any kind of belief in the supernatural or anything like that whatsoever. I think that if you are trying to follow some kind of set of rules for how to live your life, you're honestly better off looking into John's field, philosophy, than religion. I think from a value standpoint, philosophy isn't a religion, but if I had to kind of group them together, I would almost say that certain philosophies are better than religion. You know what I mean, right, John?
I mean, certainly. So it's all a matter of
The
where you
whole
look.
point of philosophy is thinking about things, like, period, right? It's just about thinking about things. Like, you think about what the repercussions are for certain actions. You think about, certain hypothetical situations and scenarios that you would find yourself in, and you try and figure out what the different kind of outcomes would be and stuff like that, right?
I mean, yeah, because look, I don't want to get into a big discussion about that. I want to keep the focus on Islam, but just to package it in a bow, if we're talking about classical philosophy, which I still think has a lot of value, it really is how to live a good life.
Right.
Which religion could lay claim to something similar. It's just I think we take two different paths for
But
it.
that's why I'm bringing this up, though, because to me, people who are interested in or are very religious are that for that reason, because they think that that's the way to live a good life. And in my opinion, right, if you have that passion about the whole idea of living a good life, you're better off getting into philosophy than religion.
And I would agree. I mean, for the people that say, oh, read the Bible, I'd rather read, the dialogues of Plato or some classical philosopher. And, even modern philosophers are taking the question up, like myself. I just don't see religion as the answer because to me, I've just always found it, I think specious is the word. Because when you're talking about this grand metaphysical being, right? All knowing, all powerful, all good.
Well, and that's another thing, too, is that
Yeah.
I feel like religions and the people who make up or buy into religions, it's a very egocentric kind of thing because you're basically not only convincing other people, but you've convinced yourself that people are somehow special and more important than any other living organism on the planet just because we are sentient.
Yeah. Although, like I said, I would want to reiterate, I think one of the worst parts about religion, and maybe you and I could agree on this, is that they, even though they're all resting on some kind of fallacious reasoning, they all try and have dominion over each other. And I think you definitely see that in our Western media and things like that, when this whole group is being demonized and a lot of innocent people end up getting hurt by that. I think that's what really makes me the most uncomfortable about this, is not just Islam and the fact that it rests on shaky ground like any other religion, but that it's got people attacking it on all sides. Like, I really don't see these attacks from Christianity. And if people would want to say, well, atheists attack Christianity like that, no, we do not. No, we do not. Like, we are critical of it for sure, but we don't go and pick people out and say, oh, these people need to stay out of our country or this or that. Like, just turning it into full-blown bigotry.
Yeah.
I'm all for discourse all day, every day, but I'm not going to point to some person because of their skin tone or their belief system and say they're not allowed on this patch of land, which is completely fucking stupid in the first place.
Yeah, my whole thing is I try not to let myself buy into stereotypes, and I treat each individual as an individual.
Right, exactly. See, I think you pretty much articulated what I'm trying to say. I do reject religion, but I think the only thing I may reject even more is the politicization of religion, you know, making it a political thing, because that's when I really think it becomes hyper dangerous to just everybody involved. And yeah, I don't think you've seen this anywhere more than Islam today in the current landscape. So those are my thoughts on that. If you have any more to share, we'll get through Ella's. I think her questions become lighter after this.
Well, there's only one question left, and it is very much a lighter question. How would you fantasy book Tyler Bate versus Kane in the main event of WrestleMania?
I have a very weird answer for this, so do you want me to go first?
I'll go first, because it sounds like we were kind of bouncing back and forth. I went first on the first question, then you went first on the second one, so I'll go first. It would have to be very, very story driven. You would almost want to work some supernatural stuff into it as well, with Kane, with the fire stuff. Obviously, he already has the pyro that he does in the ring, where he lifts his hands and then slams them down. And you get the pyro. I mean, really, the whole point would be kind of building to Tyler Bate hitting the Tyler Driver 96 on Kane. So that would be what I would want to build to. So I would probably put them in a few matches leading up to WrestleMania, maybe even two. I would say two matches, maybe put them in a one-on-one match at the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and then put them in a one-on-one match the night after the Royal Rumble. So Royal Rumble happens, Bate throws Kane over the top rope, but it was like a momentum thing, not like an, oh, I'm going to lift you up and throw you, not like a Cesaro with Big Show thing. More along the lines of like a Kane eliminates someone, Tyler Bate comes up from behind, tosses him, big celebration, everyone's happy, but then Kane eliminates Bate, throws him out over the top rope, or pulls him out over the top rope even, beats the shit out of him. Next night, Bate versus Kane one-on-one on Raw. Kane destroys him because he's still feeling the after effects from the beatdown from the Royal Rumble. Bate's out for a few weeks, and then we get Bate versus Kane again at the next pay-per-view. I would have Bate go for the Tyler Driver 96 a few times, but never actually hit it. He hits everything else, and he gives Kane a real run for his money, but then Kane eventually hits him with a tombstone for the win. And then I would probably have Kane either be champion at this point or win a championship on the way to this, so that when we get to WrestleMania, we can do Tyler Bate versus Kane, and we can have Tyler Bate hit the Tyler Driver 96 on Kane for a huge win and winning his first non-UK championship in WWE.
I really like that. You were so much more grounded than what I was going to say, because for me, you know, I'm going to be honest, I love Ella to death. She knows that, but I always love that she asks very out there questions, and this is an out there match. Let's not lie about it. If this is going to be WrestleMania, I want to do it big. It's already kind of ridiculous to accept, like, on the face of it, so I would just run with it full speed. Kane's been off TV for a while, so I would say, like, when he comes back, he would say, because he always says he's the devil's favorite demon, well, as a demon, I've been harnessing my power, and now I want to go on a rampage, and he starts destroying everybody, and he says, you know, I know my time is limited. My powers have gotten weaker. I'm getting up there. I haven't had the reign of terror that, you know, I had when I first came into this company back in, I believe it was 98. You know, my clock's winding down. But you're the answer, Tyler Bate, because you're only 20 years old. And the whole story would be he wants to steal Tyler Bate's soul so he could feed on it and replenish his energy so he could terrorize everybody all over again. Pretty much, I would give Tyler Bate the huge rub of sending Kane out the door. Like, here's this young guy, so talented. If I can take him, I'll pretty much live forever in this kind of thing. But Tyler Bate, of course, has to stave him off. I want to say, God, what would be a good, I'll say Fastlane. I would go with kind of your reasoning with your booking. I'd have Kane win the first match, but it would just be a standard match. He says that's not good enough. And then at WrestleMania, maybe have them do a last man standing match where, Bate does go over. And then at the end, maybe he sends Kane through the ring or something and flames come up. And that's the last we ever see of Kane. So I would really want to make Tyler Bate, being the guy that really beat the monster Kane, really built up one last time before he went out into the sunset. And yeah, I'd want to see if I could make this work like without championships or anything, but really ground it more in Kane is this terrifying character. He sees value in Bate, mainly in the quote unquote soul of Tyler Bate. And yeah, just really going balls to the wall with the storyline. So that's my whole approach.
Yeah. Okay, so now we can move on to our second question asker, Bullet Club versus The Shield. She just said she was staying away from this, but I hope she's staying in chat because we are going to answer her questions now. First question, what's the worst match you've ever seen?
Jenna Maraska versus Sharmell from TNA,
or Jeff Hardy versus, wow.
Yeah, or Jeff Hardy versus Sting also from TNA. Yeah, so definitely two of the worst matches I've seen because one was just horrible wrestling ability all around. And then the second one may have been even worse because it could have been a good match, but Jeff Hardy was wasted out of his mind. Still was a match, though, because the bell rang, Sting nailed the Scorpion Death Drop, and he got the win. So, yeah, definitely two of the worst matches I've seen. Ashton, what about you?
Oh, man. You kind of went with the old dud kind of philosophy. I'll list the match that I had the most expectations for and expected the most from, that I was most disappointed by and cringed the most at. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks, SummerSlam 2016.
Oh, the SummerSlam. I thought you were going to say the Hell in a Cell, but I think you and I both kind of tempered our expectations at that point. Yeah, that SummerSlam match was rough. I honestly thought on like a few occasions, like, did Charlotte seriously injure Sasha?
Yeah, exactly. That was the big one. Yeah.
It was fucking terrifying to me.
So Cliff 'em all with the $2 super chat. Fake Trump versus fake Rosie O'Donnell was another one.
Oh, yeah, that, oh my God.
That wasn't even necessarily that it was a horrible match. It was just a horrible idea. Who the hell okayed that?
Too many people, my friend. Too many people.
Okay, so second question from BCVS is, who is the most overrated woman in WWE history? And I think that's a really easy question to answer. Fabulous Moolah. But if we're talking about people who actually were primarily wrestlers for WWE, Trish Stratus.
You know what? And I was going to say Trish too, so I'll co-sign on to yours. Now, I love Trish to death, but when you compare her to especially the people wrestling today and outside of America, when you realize that there's a whole wrestling world out there, yeah, I think she was what the company needed when they needed it. But compared to other people, like, her body of work really shouldn't be that celebrated in my mind. So I would agree with you.
Yeah, Trish Stratus was Nikki Bella before Nikki Bella was a thing.
Right.
Charlotte is the most overrated today, but of all time, it's got to be Trish.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So next.
Up next, actually that was second. So third question from Bullet Club versus The Shield. Can you classify everyone in TWitWoW as a superhero or supervillain based on their characteristics? And by TWitWoW, I'm assuming she means the Scum Squad.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Because if it's just TWitWoW, then it's just you and me. Because we are TWitWoW. Everyone else is just part of the Scum Squad.
Right, and I would definitely be a villain. You'd be more of an anti-hero by my count. And if she
You're Lex Luthor.
Yes! Yes. Yeah, and as far as Scum Squad, like, everybody is a villain, at least in my mind. Maybe the only hero I could see, but I don't even know if he's a part of the Scum Squad or not. I never really made that clear, was Alex Foster, because he's just a really, really good guy. So, yeah, I mean,
Alex Foster's Green Lantern.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, yeah, I think we're most villains, and I wouldn't even really begin to specify, like, who's what villain. You know, because I think you'd really have to know somebody to know that. And while I know some of you pretty well, I don't think it's well enough to make those kinds of assessments.
Brandon Best is Daredevil. That's too easy.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That works.
He's a Satanist. Daredevil's in the name. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Plus, as much as I know he would never want to admit it, he's a good guy at heart.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. James is claiming Green Arrow like hell you are, you little bitch. But I'll give you Prometheus mainly.
I mean, if we're being real, that just makes me think maybe you're not Lex Luthor. Maybe you're more Slade Wilson.
Oh, dude, you know I love me some Deathstroke. But yeah, it's a good question. But I don't think there are many heroes among us. Hypothesis just claimed Deadpool. That's fine by me. So yeah.
So Javaris is saying he's Batman because he always brings the money.
That's true. That's true. Wayne Enterprises, man, the pay is good.
Oh man, let's see. I'm thinking about BCVS is clearly Jessica Jones.
Yeah, that works for me. It's definitely
James is claiming he's super chat here, $2. He's Green Arrow. He cheats on bitches and ruins lives. So if we want to roll with that, I don't really care enough to decline it. And he paid $2 for it, so I guess we can let him have that.
I was gonna say I do care enough to decline it, but you did do it in a super chat, so I ain't gonna turn away money. I guess that that's my side coming out, so you can have that.
Cliff wants to be Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi film.
I mean, I guess you can have that, sure. Yeah, that's cool.
Who's like a really weird, off-the-wall, like alt female superhero?
Let me think.
Because BCVTS and Jessica Jones are locked, but I'm trying to figure out who Ella would be.
Yeah, I am trying to think about who Ella would be
Rogue?
as well. Yeah, Rogue could work. Yeah, I actually like that for her. It seems good.
I mean, Rogue is like a Southerner, and Ella loves her Republicans, so...
That's true. That's true. Mitt Romney.
Well, and John Kerry. Or no, he was a Dem, wasn't he? Never mind.
He was a Democrat, yeah.
All right, well, who am I? You guys have got... I can't give myself someone. You guys have got to give someone for me.
Let's see. Well, wait. Are you a hero or a villain, though? How do you identify?
I probably would lean hero.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I was going to give you Brainiac from Superman because, that intellect, though, that cranium.
You just associate everybody with villains. Jesus Christ.
Look, it's just a thing, man, okay? All right?
James with another $2 super chat. Prometheus is the best DC TV villain ever. Fight me.
Bitch, I'd fight you for fucking free. Now shut the fuck up.
I was going to say, I don't even know who Prometheus is when it comes to the DC universe.
Dude,
so.
Here's the thing. Everybody's been raving over Arrow Season 5, and I think he is the villain of that season. And they're saying it's like the best Arrow season ever. Like, okay. I do want to get back into that show with you one of these days. We could just totally, well, maybe we shouldn't entirely skip Season 4, but I'm really tempted to. It seems really
How about, I came up with one. How about if I'm the Incredible Hulk?
You know what? That works.
Yeah.
David Banner.
Because I'm a really big guy. The Incredible Hulk, when he's actually the Incredible Hulk, he's gigantic, and I'm a big guy. And then, the actual, I forget. Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is like a really smart scientist. So I can be smart and I'm really big, so it fits.
There you go.
Okay. So up next, we have our fourth and final question from Bullet Club versus the Shield. What is the worst storyline you've seen?
Oh, God. I feel like the go-tos are always like Katie Vick and stuff, but that's still pretty horrible. So, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to say Katie Vick, mainly because why?
I'll tell you what the worst storyline I've ever seen was. The AJ Styles got a woman pregnant in TNA storyline.
Oh, God, that was such trash. I actually forgot that was a thing. Oh, my God. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah. So, I don't even remember what her name was. I'm sure it was Claire something, I think. But I don't remember the full name. I'm sure somebody in chat will. But that whole storyline was sort of happening during the day. Claire Lynch, there it is. Javaris brought it up. It was happening during the days that I was kind of done with TNA, but I would still check in from time to time just to see if it was any good. And when they started talking about how I'm pregnant, AJ, I was done.
Yeah, you were. You and so many other people, and with good reason. Next.
So, next up, we had 4 questions from Brandon Best, who we know is in chat. First question specifically directed towards you, John. Could Elijah Witt join the Scum Squad?
Now, Brandon, the good news for you is I actually did take advantage of some of the resources you sent.
Oh, by the way, I didn't catch this, but James sent in another $2 super chat. John is Captain America. Praise capitalism.
And again, James, fuck yourself and fuck your face. Nobody loves you and no one ever will. But anyway, back to people that actually matter, which you might want to try sometime, James. Brandon, good news for you is I actually took advantage of your resources. I listened to the 2 Elijah Witt interviews, and I actually glossed his Twitter. I'm not going to say like I scoured his tweets because that would just be creepy, and I only do that for James. And yeah, I think he actually would be a good fit. The one thing that really jumped out at me about him was his sense of humor. Like one thing he said on his Twitter that I loved was like, oh, I try and go see this stray cat and it wants nothing to do with me. But the moment I go lay down, it's at my door meowing and pawing at the door. Stray dogs don't do me like this. And I just thought like, wow, that is so silly. You are so in. So yeah, he seems like a really cool dude. I love his personality, in interviews. I think he was complaining about kids going behind the merch counter. And to quote Jarveris, man, fuck them kids. Oh, yeah, and Kyle from, I Spy.
Kyle wasn't the one that said that. It was actually Lil Yachty. It was just in a Kyle song.
Lil Yachty, there you go. But, yeah, Elijah Witt, I definitely think we could have a place for him. I think he's got a great sense of humor, great personality. So, yeah, good stuff.
Oh, my God. See, John, you're forgetting the number one underlying cause for not allowing him into the Scum Squad.
What's that?
Scum Squad isn't just scumbags. It's scumbags who are TWitWoW fans.
I mean, I guess, but who wouldn't be a TWitWoW fan once they've heard us?
But he hasn't heard us, and therefore he can't be in the Scum Squad. Anyone can be in the Scum Squad, but they have to be a TWitWoW fan. The Scum Squad isn't just every scumbag on the planet. Otherwise, we'd fill up way too fast. The Scum Squad is specifically big fans of TWitWoW who are genuinely nice in real life, who just like to let their scummy side out on TWitWoW chat.
I don't know. I am getting a deeper appreciation for some real-life scumbags. I'm looking into expanding the network. But, I mean, yeah, look, they'll listen to a few episodes at the gate. They'll love us because how could they not? And then we can just hand them a shirt. But, yeah, so I still give them the stamp of approval for sure.
Wow. Glad this is not a dictatorship and it's a democracy because, damn. Second question from Brandon. What would you rather do? Watch a 30-plus minute intergender match between Titus O'Neil and Charlotte, or watch the movie The Room? This is the easiest question you've ever asked, Brandon. I would watch The Room 3 times over before I would watch a 15-minute match between Titus and Charlotte.
I'd actually probably go the Titus and Charlotte match.
Oh, my God.
I just, it would have to be on a day where I'm feeling really masochistic. But The Room, like, I don't want to do that, man. I would just have too much of a morbid curiosity about how Charlotte and Titus, being so awful, would work an intergender match. Yeah, I'd endure it. I'd absolutely endure it. And then, you know what I'd wash my eyes out with? Lucha Underground intergender matches because they're excellent. So, yeah, definitely the 30-minute match because my curiosity would just be too great to not take advantage of it.
Jesus Christ. What the hell is wrong with you?
No, you really want to devote all that time when we still have so many questions to answer? Next.
The funny thing is, I actually do intend on watching The Room under, like, my own volition. Like, of my own volition. Like, I plan on watching it on purpose. Like, I'm not, you don't have to force me into watching it by threatening to make me watch a Charlotte O'Neil match.
Yeah.
So, up next, what style of wrestling, whether it's, the Japanese strong style, Mexican lucha libre, or British technical style, do you think a casual WWE fan could most easily be able to get into?
Taking myself out of it and knowing what type of wrestling I love, I would definitely have to say Lucha Libre. I think people pop more for like acrobatics and like stylish maneuverings, and Lucha Libre has such pop and such flash. Like, I think if you expose them to that, especially quality Lucha Libre,
Hang
I'm
on
talking
just a sec, John. We have another $2 super chat. This one from Cliff Amal. And I'm assuming he wants me to deliver this in my Tommy Wiseau voice. You're tearing me apart, John.
It's okay, Cliff. As long as the shoulder stays stitched together, I know you'll be okay. But yeah, I would definitely say Lucha Libre for sure. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Lucha Libre is the easiest for casual fans to get into because it's the flashiest, it's the most exciting, it's the most fun, and since they're a casual wrestling fan, we aren't necessarily assuming that they're also MMA fans. But if it was an MMA fan, I would say the strong style, the Japanese strong style, because
Right,
that's the closest to
absolutely.
real MMA.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, for the casual fan, I would say Lucha Libre. For the casual fan who's also a hardcore MMA fan, though, I would say Japanese strong style.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Up next, our fourth and final question from Brandon. What's the weirdest movie you've ever watched? Not necessarily good or bad, just the weirdest.
Oh, the weirdest?
Can I answer this since you went first last time?
Yeah, certainly.
No Country for Old Men.
I really enjoyed that one.
I really didn't because I hate false protagonists.
For me, God, that is so hard to answer, actually. But you know what? There was one movie, I can't remember the name of it, but when I used to live in Jersey when I was a kid, we used to, like, every week go to Hometown Video. Remember those? Along with your local Blockbuster.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I love that shit, man. Those were amazing.
And rent these movies, and we got
you love how you would always go with the intention to get like 2 or 3 movies, and you would always spend like a half hour there just trying to figure out what one movie to pick, and then you would be like, oh, well, I got this one, but now I also want to get another one or two.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember my family used to make a game of it, like who could pick out the best movie.
Yep.
I feel like I only won one time, but
you remember what movie it was with?
I believe a Telephone Booth where that guy was.
Oh yeah, Colin Farrell. That was a good movie.
Yeah, and they were like, "You won this one, John." I'm like, "Yes, I don't suck." But yeah, I think this was actually one that I picked too, which makes it even funnier. The weirdest movie, because I think it was a guy we couldn't even follow the thread, like what the fucking plot was. It was just this guy that we guess was like possessed or something, and there were like these string of crimes. It was really, really weird, and yeah, thankfully I've never seen anything that weird since. I mean,
hang on, can you give me like a brief synopsis of what the movie was about? I might be able to figure out what it was.
Dude, I don't even know if I could do that. It was so long ago, but like it does stick out in my mind in the sense that we felt like the twist was the guy was possessed by something, and that's why he was doing all the killing he was doing. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I feel like it was very poorly done. It was taken in a weird place, especially in the latter half, when the big reveal was made. And I'm like, man, I think again it stings because like I picked it out, and then I'm like, wow, how did I pick out something so weird? So yeah, that was definitely one of the weirder experiences I've had.
Was there a priest covered in flies?
Possibly.
That was a question from Hypothesis. So
I mean, you never know. I mean, it probably that movie was so fucking weird. So
anyway, so my weird in a bad way was No Country for Old Men. I think though that my weird in a good way, because oh my god, I've seen so many weird movies, but to me, like the movie that's really weird in a good way is Trick or Treat.
Yes, that movie's excellent.
It's so weird, but it's such a great Halloween movie. It's amazing.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it when you showed it to me. I thought it was amazing.
All right, so let's move on. We've got 4 questions from Ace the Skylord. First question, who is your favorite character from Southpaw Regional Wrestling?
Lance Catamaran, because that was John Cena, right?
I think so, yeah.
He was great. Just the way in that one episode he slipped in, I miss my father. Just so good. And when he went off like the hinge because they misscheduled their like equivalent to WrestleMania. And it's like that there is no such a day, and he was like flipping out. Yeah, John Cena really put his back into that role. I thought somebody reported there may be more Southpaw. I hope that was a credible source. I couldn't even tell you, because that was some of the best stuff WB has done. And if the performers could be more like that on actual TV and be able to come up with characters and really get crazy with them, my God, it would be a more entertaining product. Like, there are times I want to be like, you call it sports entertainment WWE, so lighten the fuck up. Like, at least with New Japan being super serious, they have the performers and the kind of structure to pull it off. To me, WWE doesn't. I wish it would actually let it tear down a little more, but not in that cringy way. I don't know. They got to find balance, and they're historically bad at it, but I think Southpaw Regional Wrestling is a great template. And yeah, John Cena's character was by far my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite character by far was Big Bartholomew.
Yeah, that was great too.
Do you remember who played Big Bartholomew?
Wasn't that Rusev?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Ruru, baby, with those acting chops.
Yeah, he was great. And then, of course, Christian Joy, that was her name, Lana's character. She was like this Southern belle. And it's like Lana actually has to put effort into her Russian accent, but when she plays Christian Joy, you're thinking, oh, Lana's a good actress. That Southern accent sounds really natural. But that's her real accent.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So, all right. Second question from Ace. What's the biggest technical difficulty you've ever encountered on a live stream? Well, I mean, the one time that John lost his microphone in the middle of a live stream kind of sucked.
Yeah, that was horrible. I still have nightmares, actually. But, yeah, there was that. And then, of course, like, when we're using a network or whatever in itself, and, like, the lag and the falling behind, I hate that, because those are problems that persist. I mean, when you have cataclysmic problems, sure, but at least sometimes you have the good grace of being able to recover and bounce back. But sometimes, like, I know we've done recordings of SmackDown Live where we're never really able to sync up for most of the show. That is the most infuriating shit to me, because live reactions can be a lot of fun. You just got to make sure you're not leaving your partner in the dust, and it just sucks when it happens, because I think it really sucks the energy out of it. So yeah, that would definitely be my vote for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not necessarily during a live stream, but the day that I had my car crash, earlier on in that day, John and I probably spent like 4 or 5 hours trying to record, trying to actually do like the recording process. And we had literally no recorders that were actually working. So that was just like the ultimate example of like, oh, well, we're screwed and the rest of TWitWoW is never going to happen and we're done and we're just going to shut down the channel. It's over. Yeah. So that was like the doomsday scenario right there. So that was actually what led to us doing the live stream stuff, because now all we really have to rely on is Google Hangouts. And the thing is with that, if that doesn't work, we are like the least screwed people in the world that get screwed over by Google Hangouts not working. So people with actual money, people who actually can make a difference and have their voices heard, will be on Google's asses for fixing Google Hangouts long before we can even get to it. So
right.
Something that the super rich also rely on is really convenient for us.
I couldn't have said it better, partner. Nicely done.
Yeah, so up next, we had our third question from Ace the Skylord. Show sucks less, Total Divas or Total Bellas?
You should answer this one first, right? Because I feel like, or did you answer the last one first?
I answered the last one first, brother.
Okay. I would say Total Divas.
Yep.
Because you get perspectives, at least from women that I actually like Naomi,
Renee,
and I don't like Natalia, but I like TJ, at least when he was on the show, because we haven't watched Total Divas in a while, so I'm just going on when we used to watch. Whereas Total Bellas, it's just that family, and the only person I really care about in there is Brian. And Cena can be funny at times, especially
Cena's hilarious, but he's like the villain of the show.
Exactly. So yeah, Brian seems to me the only guy, like, I really wish these cameras weren't in my fucking house and I want to be wrestling. Like, he seems like the guy that would be most like me. Like, I don't want to deal with this shit. I'd rather be doing, what I would like to freaking do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only redeeming quality to me of Total Bellas, but at least Total Divas actually has more of a world beyond that freaking house with all of them in it. And yeah, so Total Divas for me for sure.
Yeah. Total Bellas was a nightmare, and Total Divas we actually got through like 3 seasons of before giving up on it. And The primary reason I personally gave up on it was because of the over focus on the Bellas and Eva Marie, who are like easily my least favorite characters on the show. I like having Alicia Fox on the show. I like Renee Young. I like Naomi. There are characters who I actually like on Total Divas. So if I were to watch Total Divas, I would probably watch a grand total of like 20 minutes of each episode, just skipping past all of the Bellas and Eva Marie shit. But if I would watch Total Bellas, I would probably watch a grand total of like 3 minutes, just skipping around to all the Daniel Bryan shit.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So there's your answer. Up next, fourth and final question from Ace the Skylord for Johnny Scumbag. Cut a promo on the bullshit that is the heart of the cards.
First of all, Taya, sit down and shut the fuck up. All right, now that I've taken care of that bitch, because friendship, shut up! Friendship isn't the solution to everything. You don't even matter. You don't even know what friendship is. It isn't just rah-rah speeches, okay? There's more to it. I mean, for fuck's sake, for as emotionally toxic as me and James's relationship is, we have more of a friendship than any of you goddamn idiots. So just sit down. Now, as far as the heart of the cards go, I hate that shit with a fucking passion, because Duel Monsters seems like a really cool fucking card game. I mean, you have mountain type monsters, bug type monsters, and these dragon types and all these different types, right? So you think, oh, I can think about tactical advantage and field advantage, and how do I blend magic and traps? How do I make this trap card work with this monster? For all the people that hate Seto Kaiba, at least he's a fucking strategist with his deck. I mean, my favorite strategy that he employs is the Crush Card Virus. Oh, I'll shrink this monster, I'll cut its attack points in half. Then when they attack, oh yeah, your deck is pretty much decimated. But not for Yugi, see? Because he just breaks the rules all the fucking time, and yet what's the out? Friendship. Or no, even more on the nose, heart of the cards. That is bullshit. I don't care what it is. When you are down by 200 life points and you have no monsters on the field, don't tell me luck of the draw. I may believe it one time.
John, you can't ignore the pot of greed, which allows me to draw 2 more cards.
Fuck that card, by the way. Look, I can understand luck of the draw one time, maybe even 2 times, because that is something that legitimately happens every now and again. Let me share with you a story. When I played Duel Monsters, in fucking reality, I got my ass kicked. All right, my life points were decimated. And then I made a joke that I wasn't going to stop drawing cards until I drew the Blue Eyes White Dragon. You know when I got that card? The 25th fucking draw. It would have taken 25 turns, if not more. If not more. That's a number I put out there, but I know it was a lot. Just case in point. There was no heart of the cards for me. There was never going to be heart of the cards for me.
Shit deck, dude.
You know what? Yeah, it happens. You know why? Because sometimes you do just get a shit deck, which, you know what you should bring with you when that happens? Actual fucking strategy. It goes back, oddly enough, to the Islam question we answered at first. I don't like these appeals to absurd metaphysical reasoning. Oh, heart of the cards. What the fuck even is that? What the fuck even is that? You're the king of games, and yet you're the least strategic player I think I've ever seen. I mean, even Joey, to a degree, has some semblance of strategy, even if it's just like 90% gambles, and then the other 10% is finding a way to make those gambles work for you if they pan out. Hell, even Weevil, who
sometimes I know it's not even a gamble either. Sometimes it's just stalling tactic. Like, I've drawn the Swords of Revealing Light.
Exactly. Like, god damn, man. Even Weevil Underwood, who I know a lot of people hated, he was a strategist, especially in the first season, not just throwing out Exodia, but luring Yugi, and particularly Yami Yugi, because he's the real fucking king of games until that final episode where it's like, oh, Yugi, you did it all along, shut the fuck up, where he gets a power bonus because of the field advantage. Like, that's smart, right? That freaking works. And I'm not saying that Yugi can't be clever, but it always seems to come at the expense of, oh, look at this. I drew the right card at the right time. Like, god damn, man. I always hated it. I always hated it because I felt like sometimes the villains were better strategists. My favorite character on there, if I'm honest, was Yami Bakura. I wanted him to
See,
win.
and my favorite character actually was Weevil Underwood, so it's hilarious you bring him up.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I loved Yami Bakura because in the Battle City duel with Yugi, he had this great strategy planned out where he like played this field card, and he had the Destiny board, and he had this ghost possess Yugi's monster. Like, it was a thorough fucking plan. Why? Because he was competing for a Millennium item and trying to get the Egyptian God card for Merrick. So he thought the shit through. With Yugi, it's like, oh, Pharaoh, you've got the whole planet on your shoulders. What are you gonna do? I have a plan. Yes, oh, thank God, that's great. What is it? I'm going to trust in my friends, and I know the best will follow. Oh my God, we're all going to die. And yet somehow they don't. They fucking don't, but they should. Yeah, so fuck the heart of the cards. Yami Bakura, Weevil Underwood, Seto Kaiba, any other legitimate strategist, 4-4 life, and Taya, just die. Just die. So, yeah, that's my fucking promo right
but
there.
John, friendship!
Shut up! Alright? I don't care about your fucking friendship! Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. I'm good now. Now. Let's move on.
Excellent. Next question. We have 4 from Rotten Butter. First question. What's some cool shit that you've watched, read, or played over the last month?
Over the last month, well, funny thing is, actually, no, you go first, because I still need a breather from that whole promo I just cut.
Okay, so as far as watched, we watched Logan. That was great. We've been catching up on Silicon Valley, which we've already seen, but we're just doing a refresher because my mom's memory is horrible because of her epilepsy, and we're just trying to make sure that she's all caught up and she remembers everything for season 4. And then, of course, when we caught up to season 4, we're going to continue watching on Sundays as the show happens. We have both downloaded a game, I think it's called Dungeons 2. Is that right, John?
Yes.
So we both downloaded it because it was free on the Humble Bundle, but neither of us has actually played it yet. So we'll get around to telling you about that when we get around to playing it. As far as actual games we played, we've just been playing the shit out of Brawlhalla lately. Lots and lots of Brawlhalla. I started up a new game save in Golden Sun on my Game Boy Advance, so that's fun. Pretty excited about continuing that game. I missed the shit out of it. Haven't really read anything interesting, so yeah, I'm not really all that interesting. John, how about you?
Well, funny thing is, and I'm so fucking excited for this, I can't even begin to tell you guys, because I think you guys know, because I know you guys have asked me certain questions in prior Q&As. I am an anime fan to an extent, and actually I can answer this with a lot of stuff that I watched today with the family. We started season 2 of My Hero Academia, still an amazing anime. If you guys haven't checked it out, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Also, I've been watching Revenge with the Family, which my sister and her boyfriend have already watched, but they exposed me to it. It is the perfect amount of cheese, and I'd get into it, but I really want to just keep this going. So yeah, Revenge is another one. I've told you guys, I think, about Sons of Anarchy. We've still been doing that. That, I think, falls under this past month. Reading, I just read a bunch of philosophy shit. So, of course, those are always cool articles to me. I actually read an article the other day about swearing and its relationship to morality and etiquette. Really cool piece by this philosopher I'm really growing to love. And as far as continuing anime, I rewatched my favorite anime of all time recently, both seasons of Code Geass, and I learned that they're going to do a season 3 in 2018. I am so fucking stoked. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, because I could not believe, I was just rewatching it because I'm like, I think enough time's passed, I think I can rewatch it again without missing it too much, and then I learned that by the end of next year, season 3 is coming out, and I am, like, the hype is so fucking real. I am so ready for it. So, yeah, that's stuff I've been doing. And then just tack on everything that Ashton said, and you pretty much got my answer. So, great stuff.
Yeah, John watches a lot more stuff, either just on his own or with his family, whereas I tend to spend my free time either working on spreadsheets or just kind of browsing Reddit or watching videos, shit like that. So yeah, that's about how we spend our free time most of the time when we're still at our computers. So, oh man, all right. Next up, second question from Rotten Butter. This is actually a little bit more of an in-depth question, so I'm going to just read the whole thing, and then John, I'll let you answer first since I answered the last question first.
Okay.
Is there really such a need? Or is there really a need for such reliance on the face and heel dynamic in wrestling anymore? I know that the good guy, bad guy thing is a tried and true storytelling method, but it feels like it's limiting the storytelling potential. I know it's not good for the crowd to boo the hero, but what's wrong with cheering for a villain? Or fights with no real hero or villain? I love that Lucha Underground is somewhat breaking that mold with storylines like Pentagons, but what are your thoughts on this?
I'm actually so glad that Rotten Butter asked this, and I always do appreciate their questions. I've actually felt this way for a while. Like, I'd even say I felt this way even before Lucha Underground was a thing on our radar, because I was thinking, it's the 2000s now. This isn't the 80s where you can get away with like the Wonder Bread hero and the one-dimensional villain where I'm from this country, even though I'm amazed that even like to this day, even though maybe I shouldn't be given the climate, you could still get away with just very basic xenophobic storylines. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a product would be much better if it just adapted organically to crowd reaction. Now, I'm not saying adapting every second because one crowd may hate a guy, but another crowd may love a guy. But I think the people that are genuinely over, it's pretty consistent. And, I don't know. I just feel like I can definitely see where Rotten Butter's coming from because I've often wondered that myself. Like, is there such a point for heel face dynamics? Can we go beyond good and evil and just do basic human motivations like championships or money or relationships or things like that those don't necessarily need a hero and a villain to me. It's just all grounded in the human experience. So I don't even know if I can necessarily agree with Rotten Butter's assessment that maybe there's no need completely, but it's definitely a sentiment that I'm very sympathetic towards, is how I would answer that question. What about you, though, Ashton? I'm very curious about your take on this.
See, I thought this was a really interesting question because I'm actually on the complete opposite side of this spectrum. In my opinion, I think that the face-heel dynamic needs to be reinforced harder, but I also think that some major adjustments need to be made to a few things that are involved in the current face-heel dynamic. So, for example, I think that faces should be the most entertaining performers and heels should be the least entertaining performers who can still put on a good match. So to me, like, for example, Cesaro is incredibly entertaining. Even if he's not the best talker, I would want him to be a face, even if it means having to give him some kind of a mouthpiece or putting him in a tag team with someone who's also a face who can talk for him, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On the other hand, though, Kevin Owens, I think, would be better suited as a face because he's got a lot of the entertaining qualities. He's more exciting. He's a bigger guy, so he's more relatable to the casual fan. But he's just constantly doubling down on his heel work, and it makes the people who are kind of like the play along and cheer the good guys and boo the bad guys hate him, and it makes the hardcore smarky I cheer for who's entertaining people like us like him.
Right.
I think really, in my opinion, I think that companies like the WWE should go out of their way to appeal to the hardcore fans. And by that, I don't mean that they should have their matches be PWG style matches, although there should be one or two of those on every pay-per-view like what WCW used to have with their cruiserweights. I don't necessarily mean that they should be like winking at the camera or breaking the fourth wall or anything. I just think that in general, the hardcore fans cheer for the most entertaining acts, whether they're good guys or bad guys. So if you make the people that the hardcore fans cheer for good guys and they, start acting like good people and nice people, then the casual fans will follow and also cheer those people and get behind them. And suddenly you have characters that 100% of the audience agrees on, which doesn't happen these days, ever.
Yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from, dude. Completely
So
agree.
that's my problem, is the way that certain people are presented. Like, I've always been under the impression that, yes, there is a lot of room for people that can be both heel and face, but those are the people that are the exceptions rather than the rules. I've always kind of felt like if someone is a really good heel and not a very good face, that you should have them be heel all the time and not worry about, oh, well, we have to keep this character fresh, so let's turn him. Because if somebody is really good at being a heel and awful at being a face, and people get sick of that character, you should either relegate them to lower in the card or take them away from TV for a while until people want them again.
Right.
So really, my thing is, I'm doubling down on the face-heel dynamic, but I'm rearranging it so that it goes more with the flow.
Yeah, I can totally see what you're saying.
And even with Lucha Underground, with the whole Pentagon thing, I think that them trying so hard to keep him heel for as long as they did was a mistake. I think that they should have embraced that the fans loved him. They should have embraced that he was cheered long before he got his arms broken by the Black Lotus triad.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, people were eating him up like something feared. Like, they adored Pentagon at the temple, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of cases where companies keep somebody a certain way going against the wishes of the crowd, but, you know, in hindsight, they're almost always a bad decision. Like WWE keeping Cesaro heel after his big WrestleMania Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal win was stupid. Turning Ryback heel when he went after Cena and got that huge pop was incredibly stupid. Keeping Pentagon heel after all of this amazing response and his match with Vampiro, in my opinion, was a bad decision. So I do think that in most cases, you should listen to the crowd, and if somebody has a resounding reaction one way or another, you should allow that performer to embrace that role.
Right. Yeah, I can completely respect that view.
Sasha Banks being a babyface. That's the opposite example. Sasha Banks should never, ever, ever, ever be a babyface. Sasha Banks should be a heel all the time. And if the crowd is cheering her, then have her do like what she did in NXT and make a child in the audience cry and double down on those heelish tendencies, because she's just flat out better at it than being a face. You can't cut a face promo to save her life. She's actually worse in the ring having to work babyface psychology than she is as a heel. So there are some cases where even though the audience wants you to go one way, it's smarter to go another way, but it's 100% of the time those exceptions are performer-based. It's when the performer can't play the role that the audience wants them to play, and in those cases, you have to go over the top in the direction that they were already in.
Exactly. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, so, and the whole reasoning for that is the audience will pay money to see a person that they want to see lose to a person that they want to see win. And the whole purpose of wrestling is to make money. So there you go.
Yeah, I could totally sympathize with that viewpoint. I really like that answer. So I've got nothing else to add. We can move on.
Rotten Butter's third question. You're given the opportunity to replace up to 50% of your body, excluding your brain, with robot parts. Which body parts would you be willing to swap with robot ones? Note, any new parts would be above the human average in terms of performance, but not necessarily superhuman.
Simple, straightforward answer for me, my legs, because they don't work. At least not like the quote-unquote normal person. So yeah, I'd love robotic legs so I could just have a greater sense of autonomy and get to where I need to be. And yeah, I think that'd be pretty kick-ass. So yeah, it's a very easy answer for me, my legs. What about you?
Okay, well, I mean, legs, that's probably right around 50%, but if you had to go one step further, would there be anything else other than your legs?
I think one of my eyes, because I'd love a cybernetic eye, you know, analyzing all that data and shit like in the movies. So yeah, maybe my left eye though, because that's my weaker eye. So yeah.
Huh, man. Well, shit, man. This is a really difficult question for me because, like, I just don't know. I'd probably say my legs too, but for very different reasons, because my legs are sore really often, and like, you know, just kind of being able to, you know, get up and run around and not really have to worry about damaging my joints or anything like that in my legs would be a really, really nice thing to have.
Right.
And if I had to add anything on top of that, maybe my left hand, because my right hand is fine, but like my brain does not get well with my left side anything. So maybe if I had a cybernetic left hand, it would be a little bit more responsive.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's really cool. We'll be
Because
cyber.
like,
Yeah.
have you ever like tried doing something that you normally do with your dominant hand with your less dominant hand?
Yeah, and the results are always atrocious for me.
Exactly. So like I would want to be ambidextrous. Let me do stuff with both sides.
Yeah, I kind of envy ambidextrous people. I'm like, why? But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I like that answer for sure.
Yeah. All right. Fourth and final question from Rotten Butter. Where's Waldo?
I killed him, and I buried him in the backyard, and his decomposing body actually produced some very lovely trees. So, what about you, Ashton? Where's Waldo for you?
Damn. I mean, well, are we in two different universes? Because if you killed him, then that's where he is for me, too.
I mean, let's just say we're in two different universes. Where is he for you?
What?
I said, let's say we're in two different universes. Where is he for you?
Probably somewhere in Beijing. I don't know.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on.
Up next, we have 3 questions from James.
Oh, finally we get to the skank. All right, let's do this.
If you could be any superhero, which hero would you be? I already said I'd be Incredible Hulk. So what about you, John? If you actually had to choose, since I kind of put Lex Luthor on you, who would you choose?
Well, as a superhero, I'd be Professor Xavier because I've got half the work done already. You know. So
Oh my god!
now I just need the psychic abilities. You know, those mental.
Like, yeah,
abilities.
you've already embraced the downside to being Professor X. You might as well get the upside to go along with it.
Exactly. So, easiest cosplay ever. Shave my head, go in my wheelchair. Who are you supposed to be? Professor X. Oh, cool. So, yeah, there you go.
You don't even have to say it. You can just think it, and they'll hear it in their heads.
Exactly. Oh, man. So, what about you?
I already said Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, okay, so you are doing that.
Although that's more representative of kind of my characteristics. If I actually had to choose what superhero to be, probably Spider-Man, honestly. That would be awesome. I'd love to be able to sling webs and beat up bad guys and have that superhuman performance and body and everything like that. Like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Second question from James. If you were given $50,000 to travel the world nonstop, which countries would you go to? Do you want to take this, or?
4 countries for me. Greece, France, Germany, and Japan, all because they've been philosophical superpowers. I'd love to go to those countries and just experience the history there, especially the European countries, Greece, France, and Germany, because a lot of my favorite thinkers are from those countries. So, yeah, those are the 4 countries for me, for sure.
Yeah, I would, shit, man. I would probably visit the UK. I'm really, really apprehensive about visiting Australia because I want to go to Australia, but I don't want to get tried to kill by everything that lives and walks and breathes. South Africa would be another place that I would love to go. I want to check out Southern Alaska would be another place. I would like to go to California and all 3 of those West Coast states, California, Oregon, Washington State. I would like to go down to Atlanta, Georgia for a Falcons game. Since I have $50,000, I might as well just spend some of it on that. And Hawaii would be another place that I would want to take my mom because she's always wanted to go to Hawaii. I know that. I would want to go to a lot of Nordic countries. I know I would want to go to Sweden. I would want to go to Norway. I'd want to go to the Netherlands. So there are a lot of places in Europe, like North Central, Northeastern Europe, that I would want to check out. And my final destination would be Canada because I want to live there.
Oh, there you go. That's quite an extensive list, man. You're really putting your $50,000 to work.
Yeah, 50,000 probably wouldn't cover all that, but here's the hope, and I can stretch my dollars, brother.
There you go. All right, what's the horror's final question?
Oh, yeah, James, that's right. In an alternate timeline, you were assigned to book a Lucha Underground versus WWE WrestleMania card. What are your 4 main events? And since you've been going first for the last few questions, I'll go first for this one. Main event number 1. heel Sasha Banks versus heel Taya versus Bailey versus Mariposa in a women's four-way match. Match number 2, Brock Lesnar versus Matanza, as booked by the Lucha Underground writers, because we all know what the result would be if WWE got their hands on that. Match number 3, Cage versus Randy Orton. And match number 4, Worldwide Underground versus The New Day.
Nice. Okay, for me, Johnny Mundo versus Seth Rollins, Ricochet versus AJ Styles, Roman Reigns versus Matanza. And you know what? I'm going to say, because I like your idea of involving the women, I'm going to say Cobra Moon versus Charlotte. Because Cobra Moon regards herself as a queen, and Charlotte calls herself a queen, so I would have Charlotte absolutely get
I know,
trounced.
but why would you include Charlotte on the card at all?
Well, just to see her get humiliated at WrestleMania and then tombstone by Vibora. This way we can write her off TV for good.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, those are my 4 matches.
Well, that was fun. All right, up next we have 3 questions from Races Fan Rocks 4. First question, in Season 4 of Lucha Underground, what people do you think they're going to be bringing in?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, man. I know this is a freaking moonshot, but I would die if they managed to get a hold of CM Punk, even if it was just for one promo in the ring or one episode or anything. CM Punk and Lucha Underground would be the ultimate orgasm.
Hey, I mean, given some of the people we've seen on the indie scene, I'm pulling, 3 names I'll give, actually 2, because I'd like to see more of the one before I give him any of those kinds of considerations. I mean, I'd love to see a Keith Lee in Lucha Underground and a Lio Rush especially in Lucha Underground.
And piggybacking off that, I'll say I want Desmond Xavier in Lucha Underground.
I was going to say him, but honestly, dude, like, to be fair, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be there. I'm saying, like, for me answering the question, I want to see more of him because I felt like I got good exposure now at this point to Keith Lee and Lio Rush especially. Desmond Xavier, while that was an impressive outing, and my first program would definitely be to put him with Killshot so we could see more of that. Yeah, I want to see a bit more of him, but I'm not opposed to him coming at all. So I'm definitely cool with your answer for sure.
Well, and plus, I know for a fact that Lio Rush is very much like tunnel vision, wanting to get to NXT.
Right.
So I wouldn't even think about him.
As far as the women go, I mean, my only wish for the women was to see more Black Lotus Triad, but obviously that's not happening now. So
Tony Storm, baby, Tony Storm.
I've heard amazing things, but I still haven't seen any footage of Tony Storm. But I've heard she's
you're going to because we have a Patreon request from Cliff that's going to go through in about a week and a half that we're going to be doing live reactions to 3 matches, one of which is Tony Storm versus Io Shirai from Stardom. So,
that sounds fucking incredible. But yeah, I've been hearing this Tony Storm apparently is like lighting up the indie scene, at least on the women's side. So
it's not so much that she's lighting it up in the sense that like she's the best women's wrestler in the world. That's still Shirai, which we're gonna get to see her as well. It's more that like Tony Storm is a gorgeous blonde from New Zealand who can also wrestle.
Right.
It's like, holy shit, she's the complete package, even though she's not like one of the top 5 in-ring performers as far as women go in the world. She's good enough. I mean, she's really good. I'm not trying to make her out to be a scrub or anything, but she's good enough, and she's gorgeous, and she's blonde, which is, of course, Vince is going to come all over himself because of that. So it's not so much that she's like this amazing women's wrestler on the indies. It's more that she's like the best female WWE prospect right now that's come along in a long time.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I'll be excited for that. So thanks in advance, Cliff, for the Patreon request.
James, if you want to know how her booty is, let's just put it this way. I showed a picture of her to some friends that I talk about football with, and they said she looks like she bangs a lot of black guys. So there you go.
Yeah, so you're pretty much screwed, James, because we know you come up short in every department. But so yeah, I think those are great answers on both of our sides. So I think we can move right along. Unless you have anything else you want to contribute, because I'm tapped out at this point. I can't really think of anybody else for season 4.
I want Stu Bennett in Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be something.
I want Dalton Castle in Lucha Underground.
He'd be a great fit. Dude, now that you mentioned Dalton Castle, the one thing I want is a cinematic segment with him and the Rabbit Tribe. I think that'd be just freaking amazing.
I kind of want Donovan Dijak and Lucha Underground, but he might be NXT bound, so maybe not. And then I would say the other person that I want in Lucha Underground would be oh shit. No, I think never mind.
Hey, the only other person I can think of, because I am just in love with him right now, and to me he's been like lighting it up, Marty Scurll. I think Marty Scurll on the Temple, I'd fucking adore that. I think with his aesthetic and everything.
Since we already know that people who work in Lucha Underground are allowed to work in New Japan, I want Hiromu Takahashi in Lucha Underground.
Oh, dude, he'd be so perfect there too. Yeah. Oh,
and
man, so
I mean, hell, since we're going there, I wonder if we could get like a working relationship between LU and New Japan, like what New Japan has with ROH, and maybe get Naito on Lucha Underground.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that would be wonderful. That'd be amazing.
And of course, Brandon Best pointed someone out that I always forget about, but he's amazing. Jimmy Havoc.
Oh my God, Jimmy Havoc and Lucha Underground. I mean, to me, like him working with guys that are kind of similar to him in some ways, like Callan and stuff, would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think Jimmy Havoc could light Lucha Underground up. That would be an amazing experience.
All right, so question 2 from Racist Fan Rocks, and if an NHL, oh my God, I can't language right now. If an NHL team invades a WWE event, what team is it? And because I don't watch the NHL, I'm going to answer this quick and concise and to the point. The Nashville Predators versus the Apex Predator.
And because I have no knowledge of hockey whatsoever, I am going to piggyback the shit off of you for that answer. So let's move right along.
All right, third and final question from Racist Fan Rocks. Imagine playing a Lucha Underground version of Dungeons and Dragons. What tribe are you in? What is your wrestling animal? And what is your signature weapon?
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to say that I'm in the Jaguar tribe, mainly because Mundo, unfortunately, doesn't have a tribe. Of course, you guys know if he did, I'd be on that just so quickly. And what were the other parts of that question, Ashley? I know signature weapon, but I feel like there was another part.
What's your wrestling animal?
What's my wrestling animal? If it could be any animal, wolf, because wolf's my favorite animal. Love wolves. And then my signature weapon, probably a spear. So, yeah.
Like a literal physical...
Like a literal physical spear,
stick with a sharp blade on the end.
Yes, yes.
Damn. Okay, I would be in the Eagle tribe with my boys Phoenix and El Dragon Azteca Jr. And my animal would be the cassowary, which is my favorite animal, since we're just going with favorite animals. And the cassowary is basically a literal dinosaur. And my signature weapon, oh Christ, I think it's all I remember is from Deadliest Warrior. I think it's called an atlatl or an atlatl. I think that's what it is, an atlatl. It's kind of similar to you, John, but it's not a full-blown spear. It's actually like it's somewhere between a bow and arrow and a spear. It's like a long L-shaped stick that you can put big like bolts in and throw with.
Damn.
So I'm gonna type the name of it in chat so that people can look it up if they're curious. And it's basically a spear thrower that extends your arm and makes the spears that you throw go further and hit harder.
That sounds cool as hell, dude.
It's pretty cool. And the only reason I know about it is because of Deadliest Warrior. So even though I'm not the biggest fan of that show, the first season was entertaining enough that I at least got that out of it. So there you go. Right. All right, moving on. Next question asker was Stella from Twitter. And her first question, what is the most ridiculous wrestling conspiracy theory you've ever heard? I have a really good answer for this. Kevin Sullivan killed the Benoits.
I was gonna say that. I'm just gonna piggyback off you because there really was one that was never more ridiculous to that than me. Like, obviously that death ripped my heart out of my fucking chest, but you gotta face reality. And seeing those people really just try and deny it and just be like, "Oh, was this?" To me, that just added like insult to injury. That just made everything a million times worse. And yeah, it was beyond ridiculous. So I'm not even gonna fight that. I'm not even gonna try and come up with something else because that was just the most ridiculous to me. So completely agree.
Another one that might sound ridiculous at first, but is not necessarily something that I don't believe. It's just not something I necessarily buy into 100%. Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson were basically having sex not only with each other, but with a lot of the boys back in the 90s, including Shawn and Brett.
Never knew that one. I mean, I knew about Stephanie and Randy Savage, which that's like another one that's always kind of been like, to me. But that is one of the more interesting ones I've heard, I'll tell you that much.
There you go. Up next, second question from Stella. Who will be the first female wrestler to get a legit run with the Lucha Underground title since Sexy Star had it for 1 week?
Honestly, and I'm not trying to be a dick, I want to say Ivelisse so bad, but she's got to stay healthy enough for that to happen.
Well, I was going to say, my whole thing with Ivelisse is that she's the underdog, and we've seen in Lucha Underground the underdog characters have a hard time keeping a hold on the world title, on any titles.
So unless she has a turn of some kind or some kind of seismic shifting character, I'm honestly going to say Mariposa. I could see her really being the first to do it. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mariposa. What about you, Ashton?
Taya, easily, by far.
Nice, nice.
I mean, the thing is, she's one face turn away from being the top female star in the company, and not even close.
Yeah, I agree. People freaking love her, and with good reason, because she's the perfect woman. So, yeah, I'm totally digging that, man, for sure.
So, it's, to me, it really, and Cliff made a great point, too, it really is between Taya and Cobra Moon, because, like, Cobra Moon has the muscle. She doesn't really need to do that much work.
That's true, too. Yeah, because I was thinking more a heel perspective, because you just said, like, the underdogs never really do that well, and I don't know what a technical Taya would look like, even though you know I adore her. I think she has all the ability to go on a legit run. Yeah,
I think technical Taya would be very similar to Puma's original run, because you know she'll be an underdog against like Mill and Cage, but so was Puma. But she'll go into matches against guys like Phoenix and Aerostar and Drago and even like Pentagon, and it'll be a relatively even footing because she is one of the biggest women in the company, so she's not that like perpetual underdog like Phoenix and Sexy Star are.
You know what though? Did you say it was Cliff like bringing up Cobra Moon?
Cobra Moon, yeah. He pointed out that she leads her own freaking tribe.
Because she's been killing it too. Like I enjoy Mariposa, and I feel like the only reason she hasn't been quote unquote killing it is because I don't think she's really been given like those opportunities to kill it. Like when she got the Battle of the Bulls, I think she maximized her time. You know what I mean? Like she was the highlight of that match to me. So for her, I think it's a matter of opportunities. But Cobra Moon's been killing it. So you know what? With Cliff bringing that to the table, I think I'm going to revise my answer and say Cobra Moon because she has the believability with the character. And you said it best with Vibora. And who's the other guy's name? Because it really has
Pindar.
Pindar. That's right. Yeah, with that muscle, what the hell? I mean, you know, that's how you know, we've seen other people become
like Johnny Mundo.
Like Johnny fucking Mundo. Exactly. So, yeah, I think Cliff makes an excellent point, which is why he's VP of the Scum Squad. So I will go with Cobra Moon for sure.
All right. That works for me. And third and final question from Stella. What will Billy Corgan do with the NWA?
I was actually really curious about your answer to this because I know you were excited about that purchase.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. My answer is probably nothing. He'll probably get a TV deal that'll last a few years and then fizzle out.
Damn. Because I know you seemed initially excited about that purchase, so I didn't know if you were thinking like...
I wouldn't say excited, more intrigued, but I'm not expecting much from it.
Right. I guess I'm not either, if I'm being honest. I will give Billy Corgan this much respect. He seems to really want it because I think anybody else after the bullshit Billy Corgan went through with TNA, they would have just been like, I'm going to go to another venture. But he clearly cares about wrestling on some level that he still pursued it. So for that alone, Billy Corgan has my respect. Whether
I mean,
or
the
not
thing is, like, Spike TV and HDNet probably still want some kind of wrestling programming, so maybe they can work a deal out with Billy Corgan for the NWA to be on one of those channels. But at the same time, I mean, Spike TV has pretty good visibility, but it would, I mean, the NWA hasn't traditionally really been known as like an over-the-top edgy kind of promotion or group of promotions, however you want to put it. So I doubt they would fit with Spike, and HDNet doesn't really have that much visibility. So, you know, it's just kind of like where do they go? What do they do? It's a tough call.
Yeah, you know, for me, because here's the thing, dude. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm assuming you're kind of in a similar vantage point. I really haven't been paying much attention to like NWA's affiliates or what they've got their hands in, so I don't really know what their approach to wrestling is currently. I'm assuming it's like most. I would hope with Billy Corgan, maybe.
Well, NWA champions have been on New Japan programming over the last few years at some points. Like that Chase Owens, who is a part of Bullet Club, I believe, he was the NWA Cruiserweight champion for a while, like recently, like within the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Because see, one answer I would want to give is, oh, maybe Billy Corgan could like bring a sense of modernity to NWA, but I feel like they do already have that in their own way. It's just like it's such a rich promotion with such history. I'd be curious what Billy Corgan could do with that history, though. But you're right. I mean, it all depends on what kind of base he could build. Maybe a small-time TV deal. But I don't know. But I will say this, like, if he came out with a first episode of something, I'd probably check it out. I mean, hell, we checked out the first episode of WCPW. We decided we didn't like it. I think we could afford the same courtesy to this because at least it's not TNA. So I do wish him luck with it, though. I mean, I definitely respect that he's doing this. I just don't know what to expect. So.
Yeah, I mean, the only real downside is with the NWA, they are very old school. Like, Jim Cornette watches this show and masturbates to it on a weekly basis. Kind of old school. And, like, they have really obnoxiously long championship runs. Like, to the point that I feel like Rene Dupree held the title for, like, multiple years. And, like, Adam Pearce for, I think, like 2 or 3 years. And Blue Demon Jr. held that title as recently as 2008, so less than a decade ago. I mean, it's really, really old school. And, yeah, I'm actually looking now. Kojima from New Japan was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion in 2014.
Right, and that's really not that long ago.
And he's old as hell.
Yeah.
Tenzan was NWA World Champion in 2015.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're really... And by the way, speaking of old school, guess who the current NWA World Women's Champion is?
Oh, God, who?
Jazz.
Oh, well, I didn't even know she was still wrestling.
Surprise, she is, and she's the NWA Women's Champion. You want to know how old she is?
45?
43.
I was close. So,
yeah, you were close.
Wow, damn.
Guess who held the titles before her?
Who?
Luke Gallows' wife, Amber.
Oh, okay.
And before that, it was Santana Guerra, which is cool because I like Santana Guerra, but still, like, it's old school, like really old school, like not interested in building for the future at all, just kind of leeching off of current talent that exists.
Well, that's something I could say about Billy Corgan. Maybe he would have a more youth-centric approach. I would hope, you know, and yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. But honestly, other than Jazz, I'm looking at the different champions, the different people that hold championships in the NWA right now, and I don't recognize a single name other than Jazz.
Yeah, that's really crazy to me that Jazz is the current champion. But yeah, that's all I got to say about Billy Corgan's acquisition. We can move on.
We have one question from Mafdet on Twitter. Who do you think will win Best of Super Juniors? My vote is personally going for Marty Scurll.
And my vote as well is for Marty Scurll. Long live the villain. That's it.
Honestly, my first vote, though, was for Hiromu Takahashi. I think he could win and then point out or like choose Will Ospreay as his opponent for the championship defense. But if I have to pick someone other than the champion, it would be Scurll easily.
Yeah, I'm really hoping he wins, dude. I'd love to see him challenge for the junior heavyweight title because that division is really interesting right now to me. They've been putting on some clinics lately. So that was a very straightforward question from Avdet. Let's move right along.
4 questions from Mark Shoneman. Do you think that with Kevin Owens on the same brand as John Cena now, that they may revisit the KO Cena feud with Kevin Owens as champ instead of Cena?
Well, since you answered the last question first, I'll go first on this one. I definitely think that's a possibility. Because look, I do agree with everybody that the end game is getting John Cena to 17 title reigns, thus breaking the record and being the new greatest of all time and all that stuff. But I think with WWE, they don't necessarily want to jump the gun. I think they're going to very gradually get Cena to that place. And I think one pit stop could definitely be a Kevin Owens feud for the United States Championship, which, you know what? I support it because I do think Kevin Owens would win that feud, and their matches have always been good. I love seeing those two wrestle each other. I thought the series of matches they had were very entertaining. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening, and I would approve of that happening. What about you, Ashton?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, man, I don't think it's gonna happen. Not anytime soon, at least. If Kevin Owens and Cena both stay on SmackDown after next year's Superstar Shakeup, I could see that being a mid to late 2018 feud, but not this year.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from.
And I don't think that's going to happen because I think Cena is going to get shook up over to Raw.
Oh my God, yeah, and I've really enjoyed Cena on SmackDown too. That's another thing. Him on Raw though, I'm not
See, I
opposed
haven't
to it.
necessarily enjoyed Cena on SmackDown. I've just enjoyed Cena interacting with The Miz and Dean Ambrose, who are both on Raw now. So I don't know if the magic will still be there when he gets back.
Right, and I mean, don't forget, I think SmackDown did have the benefit of the remaining like AJ Cena feud. You know, with
That's yeah,
AJ's
that
like,
too. Yep, that too.
yeah.
So and I mean AJ's still around, but I don't want to see more AJ Cena as great as it was.
No, that feud is done with to me. And even though Cena did ultimately win the championship, AJ got more wins, so I think he won the feud overall. But yeah, you know, good stuff. And I have nothing else for that question, so we can get on to Mark's second question.
What is more likely to be possible and or true? Charlotte learns how to cut good promos, or Sidera St. Clair, who is the female actress who played Ric Flair in Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, is already a better promo than Charlotte, even though she's not even in the business.
What do you think, partner?
I'll take the latter every day.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Charlotte's atrocious
Charlotte
at
spent
promos.
like a calendar year just attached by the hip to her own father, who's one of the best promos of all time. You know he was at least trying to slide some advice her way, and either she didn't take it or she tried and failed to take it.
Nice. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Not much I can tag on to that. Let's move right along.
Okay, when dealing with a WWE apologist or a TNA apologist, or really just an apologist of any wrestling promotion in general, do you find that it's best to let them continue in their perceived ignorance, or do you think it's better to try and get them to see the other side of that fence and why they might potentially be wrong?
Here's my thing with this, because I know Mark, obviously we didn't include it in the write-up of the question, but he included an example where a friend of his just told him that Raw is the better show, but provided no reasoning. Now, of course, like on an even playing field, not knowing any of the facts, you should always aim for discourse, I think. You know, I think it's a wonderful experience, and it's definitely enlightening for both parties. But if one of the parties just is not engaging, is not exhibiting any effort, fuck them. And maybe that's just my own cynicism, but like I don't have energy to waste on people not willing to engage. So let them be ignorant or let them have their opinions. I honestly don't care. I'm not their babysitter. But if somebody's willing to talk to me about it, yeah, I'm all for a discussion. I just think when people are obstinate, I can't deal with that. I get annoyed. So yeah, that's really where I am with it. Always try for discussion, but if it's like a brick wall, there's no shame in my mind in walking away. So what about you, partner?
Yeah, I'm pretty much along those same lines. I will always, like, even if just somebody says, like, oh, well, I have this opinion and you're stupid if you don't agree, I will always attempt to engage in a productive conversation first. If they come at me with actual facts, I will continue engaging in said conversation. If they personally attack me, I'll block the shit out of them because most of this shit happens on Twitter anyway, and I don't give a single shit, much less two of them. And if it's kind of this like hostile, like, oh, well, I think you're wrong, I think you're stupid, but here are my facts, then I'll try to just ignore the shitty stuff that they say and actually counter their arguments, because my entire goal is to attack the ideas rather than the person. And I hope that other people who engage in these conversations with me will do the same thing.
Right.
So, up next, our fourth and final question from Mark Shoneman. If you were in a Believers Backlash match, which luchador would you want to hit with a kendo stick and why? Easy answer for me, Chavo.
Yes, always go after the bitch bags. For me, again, maybe just because it's my masochistic side, Matanza, because I'd love to talk to people about why I have a prosthetic arm now with the arm that I used to hit him with the cane in the first place. Always good to have a cool story to tell when you're at a wrestling show. So I'll go for the biggest and baddest. I'll go for Matanza, especially if the person I'm trying to protect is Johnny Mundo. I would gladly sacrifice an arm for Johnny Mundo if he was in Matanza's path.
Johnny Mundo versus Matanza, Believers Backlash. And literally the only person in the crowd is John.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, in that scenario, you know the backlash would be coming Mundo's way, but I'd be the one guy being like, no, Matanza, you're mean. Oh, God, my arm. So, yeah, totally what I'm down for.
Yeah. All right. So that was it from Mark. Up next, we have 4 questions from Cliff Amal, who is in chat right now. First question, what is your favorite incarnation of Chris Jericho? The suit-wearing Jericho, or WCW, or the list that's been going on recently, or the 2003 Ass Clown Jericho? What was it, John?
For me, honestly, looking back on it, I love this Jericho's current run, don't get me wrong. But if I had to pick, and I only want to keep it to one, because that's the thing. You can only pick one. It would have to be the run where, like, the second day of 2012, and he was gunning for Punk.
Jarrett Troll.
Jarrett Troll, to me, was my favorite for 2 reasons. One, the whole 6-man tag segment where he gets the tag, and he's like, yeah, let me hear it, come on, like getting fired up, and then he immediately tags out, and he's still doing the troll thing while walking up the ramp.
Yes, and then he's walking up the ramp, baby, new day,
baby, yeah, and then the second segment, the night after WrestleMania, where he's pouring the alcohol all over Punk, and he breaks the bottle over his head. Like, I just love Jericho's work in that feud, to the point where I remember on TWitWoW, I don't know if you were with me on this. I want to say that you were, but I wanted Jericho to win the title because I felt like his heel work then was just so exemplary. I'm like, give him a freaking run. So yeah, second day of 2012 Jericho, Jarrett Troll, as you called him, definitely my favorite. So much worthwhile material came out of that run. Yeah, easily my favorite Jericho. So did you give an answer already? Or yeah, if you didn't, what is your favorite Jericho?
Well, before I have an answer, you have a $2 James super chat to read.
Tony Storm's ass is beautiful. I want to feast on it. You never will. You're going to die alone. Shut the fuck up. Now, back to important people. Ashton, how would you answer your favorite Jericho?
98, 99, 2000, 2001 Jericho. That run was my favorite Jericho run.
Oh, damn. Nice. That's covering a lot of ground. Sweet stuff.
Really just like douchebag heel.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if for no other reason, douchebag heel Jericho, first ever Elimination Chamber, we gotta pin this ass. So,
dude, that's my favorite debut of all time, or at least it was until Matanza and Vibora, but that's my favorite debut of all time was Jericho in 1999, the turn of the millennium, the countdown clock, and it hit 0. And that, honestly, like, that felt like that went on for months. And in hindsight, I think it lasted like 4 or 5 weeks maybe, but that just felt like it took so freaking long to do while that clock was running, and then it finally reaches 0 during a Rock promo. And Jericho was actually one of my favorites in WCW because he had this ridiculous ongoing feud with Goldberg where Goldberg was never showing up. And he was like, oh, I'm 5-0 against Goldberg. And this whole time Goldberg hadn't even showed up. So that was like, that was the first time I ever saw somebody debut in the WWF with whom I was already familiar from somewhere else. And this was in 1999, so I was completely unaware of anything that was going on, whether it was the internet or anything like that. So this was a genuine surprise for me. And Jericho shows up, and we get the "Welcome to Raw is Jericho," and I was doing it along with him, and it was amazing. And he went one-on-one with The Rock on the stick and held his own, and yeah, that Jericho was the best.
Yeah, I could certainly understand that, dude. Jericho is just a fantastic performer, and I'm glad that we actually were able to give two different periods of Jericho's work. So, next question.
Separated by over a decade.
I know, right? Crazy.
That's how good he is, though, man. That's the thing. Like, I think we would both have the list iteration of Jericho in our top 3, and that's 2016, 2017, plus you're talking about 2012. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed his 2008 kind of aristocrat run. And, of course, I'm talking about 99, 2000.
Yeah, yeah.
So this guy is just that freaking good.
Such an amazing body of work, especially when you put it that way. God damn.
Second question from Cliff Amal. When South Park eventually finally ends its series after, like, season 52 or whatever it ends up being, do you think it will go down as the greatest animated show of all time? And if not, what beats it out?
I would say yes. Simply because even though you've got shows today like Rick and Morty and others that I think are doing certain South Park things better than South Park, they were still like the innovators. I don't think you could deny that when South Park first came on TV, it was so ahead of its time with its low budget aesthetic. But
see, here's my thing. I would say it'll go down as one of the greatest animated shows of all time, but not the.
And you know what, though? I still think there's room for debate on that front because, to me, Rick and Morty's on the fast track to really doing that.
Well, the thing is, he does want more of, like, objective, not necessarily just our opinions, because, like, he's not asking what our favorite animated shows. He's asking if we think that the like, public perception will be that South Park is the greatest animated show of all time. And I think even though nostalgia glasses are going to hit on that as well, people aren't going to forget about The Simpsons. People aren't going to forget about the Looney Tunes. People aren't going to forget about SpongeBob SquarePants. People aren't going to forget, about Tom and Jerry or Scooby-Doo. And I think all of those shows will be mentioned as best animated show of all time before South Park.
I could certainly understand that. I definitely think South Park.
If you want to change the question around to the best adult animated show of all time, I still think it's The Simpsons as far as public perception goes.
See, and for me, South Park may beat it out because I know with Simpsons, a lot of people have soured on it, whereas
a lot of people have soured on South Park too. Even though you and I haven't, a lot of people have, and a lot of people soured on it before coming back to the series, and a lot of people are going to sour on it in the future. So that's just one of those things where that's just something people happen, or something that happens with people.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I don't know. I guess that remains to be seen, but I definitely think it will be in the conversation. I mean, that to me is indisputable because, again, I think it really laid the groundwork for what you see a lot of shows do today. And yeah, but I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from because another show I would add, and I was researching it the other day, simply because of its cult following. Shows like Ren and Stimpy, I think, will just keep gaining currency because I think stuff they were doing, South Park, would kind of do.
Definitely.
It kind of goes back to that saying, "There's nothing new under the sun." But I feel like what South Park employed, they did it better than most. And I mean, hell, when you get such heat, because when they had those series of episodes where it seemed like they were going to reveal Muhammad. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they actually got death threats and emails and like their address posted like, "Oh, if you do this, we'll come for you. We'll come for your families." And South Park didn't pull the trigger, which I can't say I blame them in that context, but I think if they went with it and they did expose Muhammad, they would have cemented their place because that's
dude. That's exactly what I was thinking. If they would have done, and especially, and this is horrible. People are going to hate that I even say this, but especially if something would have actually happened to Matt or Trey, I think that public perception would have, that's the greatest animated show of all time because they died for their craft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's martyrdom, right? Like,
exactly.
It's like we have an artistic message. And,
I'm ecstatic it didn't happen because I love the show and I'm glad it's still going. But if that would have happened, I think that's probably like the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I gotta be honest. Obviously, I'm glad that they're okay, and I wouldn't have wanted to roll the dice either. But I was kind of disappointed because I'm like, man, this is South Park's chance to really, because really the whole show to me, one of the core messages. Of course, everybody has a lot of interesting interpretations. Just go on Wisecrack, and you'll see many analysis videos of South Park. But is free speech. Like I think Matt and Trey have always been historically anti-censorship. Hell, South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. I think that was kind of the overtone of the whole movie was free speech, the whole underlying theme. That was the terminology I was looking for. And yeah, to know that even they hit a wall, but that just shows you like how much anger and how much like thought they can incite. Yeah, they'll always be in the conversation, but I think had they taken that extra step, I mean that's immortality right there. But I don't blame them for not taking it because man, that's some crazy fucking shit. But yeah, that's all I got there. Unless you have anything to add, we can move on.
Yeah. All right. Up next, our third question from Cliff Amal. What are your thoughts on there being a Netflix series based on Glow, and do you think it'll be any good?
I haven't watched the trailer, but you know what? I think I will at some point go and watch it. And you know what? I do hope it's good. I do hope it's. I'm very intrigued that a show like this exists, and I'm rooting for it. But do I think it'll be good? I mean, hard to say because I really haven't watched the trailer or anything. But I mean, it's definitely got my support, and I hope it succeeds. So, Ashton, what about you? Have you seen
I
the
have
trailer?
seen the trailer. I have seen the trailer, and it actually does look good. I definitely will watch it. I mean, maybe you and I can watch that together, considering I don't know if your family would be into that thing or not. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be something that we'll probably end up checking out together. But yeah, I mean, they've got a pretty good cast. I know Allison Brie is like the main character. They got Awesome Kong as one of the female wrestlers in it, so you know she's going to bring credibility. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be like almost like Orange is the New Black with wrestling.
And hey, if that's what they're going for, I would love that because I do love Orange is the New Black. I'm not as crazy about the show as some people because I do think there are better prison shows out there. But yeah, I mean, if Glow was to go with that, I think it could have a huge chance of success. So I'll definitely check out the trailer sometime, maybe even next week. And yeah, then I'll have a more informed opinion. But for now, I'm just hoping it succeeds.
Besides the one on Vince, what are 3 biopics based on wrestling that you think should happen?
You know what? Because we've been talking about like freedom of speech and censorship. I've been hearing that a Chris Benoit one's going to happen. You know what? Let it happen. I just kind of cringe thinking about how they're going to portray it, but it's whatever. They already did one apparently on Jake the Snake on Netflix, which apparently was wildly successful. I still have to watch that. I don't know if Rick's gotten one. I'd love that. Obviously, Undertaker, now that he's like retired from in-ring competition, I think that'd be huge. So that's 2. What's a third one? What is a third one? You know what? We were just talking about him when Jericho finally steps down. I love if we would get like, because he's just done so many different types of gimmicks and everything. Yeah, I think one on him would be cool too. So Flair, Taker, and Jericho would be my 3. What about you?
Yeah, I think one that most people don't really think about, but that I would be really interested in would actually be Colt Cabana for a few reasons. Because, I mean, first of all, he's really good friends with CM Punk, so we would have the CM Punk character in the biopic as well, and that would be really interesting. And also because I think Colt Cabana is a really good story because Colt Cabana is an example of a guy who is very talented, very athletic, very charismatic, everything you could possibly want in a pro wrestler. And he worked his ass off, and he finally got to WWE, and it just didn't work out. So you could almost have like a false finish within the confines of the biopic. You could have the biopic kind of feel like it's about to come to a happy ending where the main character playing whoever plays Colt Cabana in this movie would get the job with WWE, and it would feel like it was about to be a happy ending, and then next thing you know, he gets the call, we have to let you go, we don't have anything for you. And then the entire third act of the movie, that would be the end of the second act, and the entire end of the movie, the entire third act, would be Colt Cabana, the character, or the guy playing Colt Cabana, or however you want to describe it, kind of repiecing his life together as an independent wrestler with all of the with the podcast and the Creative Has Nothing For You series on YouTube with Marty DeRosa and the CM Punk podcast that really kind of blew up, and all that stuff that happened after he was out of the WWE. He's made a success out of himself without the help of the biggest wrestling machine in the industry. And I think that's a better story than just, kind of cherry picking these super successful WWE people.
Yeah, that's a really good take. I mean, hell, if we were looking for different people, for as much as I rag on him, I'd love one on like Tanahashi. I'd be very intrigued by that. Maybe even Suzuki, because he's already so old at this point. So yeah, those would be two like kind of alternative flavors I'd go with. But yeah, those are some really cool projects, and I love your Colt Cabana idea for sure.
Yeah, Colt Cabana would be one. I want a Brock Lesnar biopic because he's probably the most successful wrestler ever with the least public knowledge about him ever.
Yeah, that's true. He's a very private man, so that would be fascinating.
Yeah, like the tell-all Brock Lesnar story would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
And then for my third one, because he did say 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Three. Okay, so Colt Cabana, Brock Lesnar, and then for the third one, let's see. This is a little bit tougher. You know what? How about Raven, Scott Levy?
Ooh, I like that choice. That's really cool.
My favorite biopics aren't about like the leader in an industry. They're always about the one that could have been.
Right. Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. Give me one on Colt Cabana, Scotty Goldman. That's horrible. Give me one on him. Give me one on Brock, and give me one on Raven. Those are my 3.
Yeah, I really like those answers, dude, for sure.
All right, those were our 4 questions from Cliff and Mall. First question from Super Blue out of 4. Name 5 NFL teams that would describe a wrestler. You can also pick women.
Oh, I'll be honest. I tried to be good about this question. I went on the NFL website today and I looked up some stats, but now I can barely remember them. This is why you should use Notepad, kids. To take those good notes.
Or Google Docs. I like Google Docs. That's what I have all the Q&A questions on.
But one that I would do, and I say this to him as like a compliment with all the affection in the world, because that's kind of his role right now. I'd say Johnny Mundo would be the New England Patriots because he's on top of the world right now, and so are they. But they've both done a lot of cheating to get there. So,
see, to me, John Cena is the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people say that, but I wanted to have a bit of a different perspective, so I
have one. That. The Minnesota Vikings are literally Brock Lesnar. I mean, look at that logo. It's a Viking. Brock Lesnar's a Viking, and he went to the University of Minnesota, and he tried to play for the Vikings, so that's like the perfect connection.
Absolutely. I forget who was the leader in defense, but I was going to give that to Braun Strowman.
Probably the Houston Texans, if I had to guess.
I think it was, Ashton. I think you're right. So, yeah, Braun Strowman to me would be the Texans because unless you're Roman Reigns, it's very hard to get any offense in on Strowman. So, yeah, he'd be the Texans for me. And, I mean, the Texans did choke getting to the Super Bowl, so I guess they faced their Roman Reigns, which I think was the Patriots, oddly enough.
You know what? It's funny to me that P.W. Gregory said the Cleveland Browns were Sami Zayn because the Cleveland Browns have never, ever won a championship. Sami Zayn won a championship. It was just a long time ago, and he's been pretty irrelevant since then. So I'm going to say Sami Zayn is more like the New York Jets because in the 60s and 70s, the Jets were pretty freaking good, and they won Super Bowl III. But since then, they've been pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, all right. I'm actually just happy that I can contribute anything at all to this conversation. Let's see. Who else was I going to pick? Who is number 1 in rushing? Because, again, I know I looked up these stats today. Buffalo Bills, that is, right?
Yeah.
So I would say probably a cruiserweight would be the Buffalo Bills because they got that speed, for rushing yards. So, I mean, Neville's the cruiserweight champion, but is he the fastest?
But the thing with Buffalo is their running game isn't really necessarily based on speed. It's more based on just, like, technique, I guess, and like taking advantage of openings in the defense and shit like that.
Ooh, then you know what? Because I think they said any wrestler, and I really did want to do this. Yeah, Brian Kendrick, that works for sure. Yeah, so Brian Kendrick's the Buffalo Bills. You got any more?
Charlotte is the Dallas Cowboys because she's overrated and yells a lot and can't talk very well, but she tries all the time.
What's another dynasty team that isn't the New England Patriots?
The Green Bay Packers.
Well, then I'll say Roman Reigns is the Green Bay Packers. Because, yeah, I was thinking either Mundo or Reigns was going to be the New England Patriots, but I like my answer better for the rationale for Mundo, so I'm like, I'll just give Reigns somebody else. So, yeah, Reigns will be the Packers.
That fits, too, because the Packers are really, really overrated, and they're pretty much a one-trick pony, which is really, really good for describing Reigns as well.
Oh, man, I'm just so glad I could give answers. But, yeah, I think I'm tapped out at this point, unless you have any other comparisons you could make.
Let's see. That's a good one. Let's say the Cincinnati Bengals are R-Truth.
Okay.
Because it's a talented performer, a talented team, but some character issues. I know R-Truth was in jail at one point.
Right.
And Cincinnati is pretty notorious for having people on it with character issues. So, Dean Ambrose is the Oakland Raiders because he's like the bad boy of the WWE. Daniel Bryan is pretty clearly the Seattle Seahawks. That's like the perfect fit. Although Daniel Bryan could also fit as the San Francisco 49ers because that's just, that just fits. Name somebody, and I'll see if I can connect a pro football team to them.
Let's see. You already mentioned the same thing. What about Kevin Owens? What team would Kevin Owens belong to?
Let's see. Kevin Owens would be Kevin Owens. Let's kind of break it down a little bit. James Ellsworth would be the LA Chargers. It's not San Diego anymore. It's the Los Angeles Chargers now. Let's see. Kevin Owens. I almost want to say that Kevin Owens would be the Carolina Panthers, but I know that would offend the shit out of you.
What about AJ Styles though? Like, is he a Falcon?
I mean, clearly the Falcons.
Yeah. Okay. I'm cool with that.
Especially the 2016 Falcons, because AJ Styles is so talented. He can do literally anything he wants, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. And that's how the Falcons' offense was. So.
And actually, you know what? Not to be a dick with the dick kick, but it also works because AJ missed his chance to main event WrestleMania, and the Falcons lost the Super Bowl. So it really works on all levels.
That fits.
Painfully, but it fits. And yeah, if you want to give Kevin Owens Carolina Panthers, like, I won't be mad. Like, if that's your honest assessment, I'd go with that. I was just curious where you'd put it.
Yeah, I just can't think of a better example for him because, like, the only characteristics I think of for him are that he is this over the top antagonist, and that he's overweight. And when I think of the Carolina Panthers, they're an antagonist in my mind because they're a division rival to my favorite team. And there was just a story about one of their wide receivers coming into camp at 280 pounds. So that's kind of where my mind goes.
Nice. Dude, I'm honestly, pleasantly surprised how this question was answered, particularly on my end. I thought I was going to sink like a stone. So I say we move on while we're ahead.
A second question from Super Blue. Who, now that Golden Truth is dead, who between them will actually be over by the end of 2017? Easy answer, Goldust. He's actually getting a character again.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad you said that because I thought I was going to be alone here. Definitely Goldust. Like, that whole the Golden Age is Back video on WWE's YouTube channel. I'm not saying it's doing an insane number of views, but last I checked, it was over 600,000. And a lot of people were saying how happy they were about it. And here's something that might interest you guys. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, of course, but somebody said that they were there at the arena, and the segment played on the Titantron actually got a nice reaction from people. So if that's true, I think people are really happy to see classic Goldust, like these bizarro kind of vignettes. And I went back and I watched his old stuff. And yeah, if this is kind of what we're getting in a modern context, I might even become a Goldust fan before the end of the year. So I'm looking at him far more than Truth. I definitely agree with you, Ash, and I think Goldust will definitely be more over.
Yeah. Third question from Super Blue. If you're forced to create a new pay-per-view for 2017, what would you call it?
I mean, to me, what's old is new again. I was really intrigued by the rumors of them bringing back Bad Blood. That's what I would do, because I mean that's just my mindset.
No. It has to be an original name. You can't just take something from the past.
All right, fine. I mean, the best thing I'd come up with is Carnival of Carnage. So that's what I'd do. I mean, it's bad. I'm not gonna lie that it's not bad.
I don't think WWE would use the word Carnage in a pay-per-view name either.
Well, you know what? It's what I came up with. If they're stupid enough to come up with Great Balls of Fire, they can get over their delicate sensibilities and use the word Carnage. So, yeah, that's what I'd go with. What about you?
I like PW Gregory. WWE presents We Already Got Your Money.
Yeah, perfect.
If I had to come up with one, trying to think of something that would be like socially relevant. I almost want to do something Trump-based, but I don't think Vince would approve it. How about?
Oh my God. I'm sorry, but when you say something Trump-based, the first thing that came to my mind is WWE presents Grab 'em by the Pussy.
I was thinking like WWE Make It Great Again or Make Wrestling Great Again or something like that. That might be one. WWE. Oh my God! All of these suggestions in chat are ridiculous.
WWE hepatitis. What the fuck is wrong with you, James?
James, I know. Like I'm just trying so hard to just look past that. WWE build that wall. I love it. WWE. We're gonna make them pay for it. WWE Big League. There you go. WWE Big League. I like that.
Yeah, you know what? That works. Oh my God. Let's move on, huh?
Fourth and final question from Super Blue, directed at you, John. Is Roman Reigns on your roster from WWE 2K16? And if so, is he a face or a heel?
Here's the thing about that. Yes. And in the game, he's a face. I really have never bothered to turn Roman heel. I might have done it one time because I was stuck in a feud playing as Seth Rollins with him, and I wanted Seth Rollins to be babyface. I even made like his babyface attire, and I tweaked his moveset. And yeah, I totally wanted Roman to be in the heel in that because fuck Roman. I'm not going to get booed for his ass. So yeah, that's the only time I tinkered with it. But the default setting, he's a face, which every time I see it is fucking laughable. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. So then we've got two questions from Abel. He was kind of a cheeky bastard this month. He asked the questions that John said as examples to ask. So thanks, Abel, for this. First one is directed at me. What do you think about the Minnesota Vikings? I actually love the Minnesota Vikings right now. Their biggest problem last year was that their offensive line was absolute trash, and they took some steps to improve it this year, although I do still think that the offensive line has some work to be done. Hopefully just getting some guys back from injury that got injured early last year will help, but their skill positions are great. I love their wide receivers. They've got, Stephon Diggs. They've got Adam Thielen. I know they just lost Cordero Patterson, but they drafted a guy in the third round. I think Roderick Johnson, maybe, something like that. That doesn't sound right, does it? Why would they draft a guy named Rod Johnson? Rodney Adams. That's the guy's name. They drafted a kid named Rodney Adams in actually the fifth round, not the third. But he's a fast guy, and he is 6'1". He's got some nice size to him, so he can probably do some stuff for them. I like the Vikings running back core, too. It's really interesting because, this team is one of the few teams that kind of really seemed like they kind of had it figured out because in my experience and in my studies that I've done, I found that with wide receivers, the most important trait that translates to the NFL is college production. So if you find a wide receiver who is really dominant in college, they tend to also be really good in the NFL. Whereas with running backs, you obviously want guys that are dominant in college, but athleticism is more important. And before the draft, the Vikings had the most athletic running back core in the NFL by miles. Jerick McKinnon is the most athletic running back in the NFL. Bishop Sankey is a freak. They brought in Latavius Murray through free agency, and he's a freaky athlete. And then the draft comes around, and they draft a guy who was a very good college player, but who is a fast, subpar athlete. He's fast, but he's not explosive. He's not agile. He doesn't check any boxes other than speed. And even his speed is good, but not elite. So Dalvin Cook comes in, and I think he'll be fine, but I'm not overly excited about him. Tight end wise, they've got Kyle Rudolph, who's always going to be good, and they drafted Bucky Hodges, who I'm very excited about. I don't know why the hell he lasted until the 6th round. That actually pissed me off. And then their defense is just incredible. The Vikings are the only team in the NFL that have actually managed to figure out how to draft edge rushers. Like, they've had Brian Robeson and Everson Griffin for a while, but then they drafted Danielle Hunter in the 3rd round in 2015, and he was just like the perfect, like, freaking Goldilocks pass rusher. And then they got, they just this year they drafted another kid who was athletic, and then they got out of undrafted free agency a kid by the name of Tayshawn Bauer, who's also athletic. They have a great linebacking core with Barr and Kendricks. I like their corner situation. Harrison Smith's a great safety. So, yeah, I really like the Vikings. I'm a big fan of the Vikings. I would put them in, like, my top 3 favorite teams. Obviously, the Falcons are number 1, but then the Vikings and Seahawks are battling it out for number 2 for me. So, obviously, this question was intended to be a joke, but I only took it seriously because I genuinely do love the Vikings this year. I honestly hope Teddy Bridgewater gets healthy, but Sam Bradford is, I guess, good enough. I don't know. Whatever. John, tell me what you think about, what is it? Kantian deontological ethics.
Yeah.
I said it, damn it. You didn't need to fix it for me.
Yeah, it just seemed like you were going to fail, so I didn't want to have to endure that.
Kantian deontological ethics. Talk about it. It's your question for Abel.
All right. Just to give the most succinct, straightforward definition, and guys, actually, you could also consult Cliff on this, because not only is he a sexy beast, but he's actually taken philosophy courses, and he's doing amazing. I'm so proud of him. Pretty much, very straightforwardly, it's a rule-based moral system. Kant was very strict in his morals. To give one of the most famous examples, he was vehemently against lying. He said you should never lie. And the famous thought experiment is, if a murderer came to your house looking for your friend so that he could butcher her, Kant even says, no, you can't lie to the murderer. And it's like, oh, so you'd let the friend be murdered. And his way around that was, well, you could tell them, like a truth, even if it's a partial truth. Oh, I saw her 30 minutes ago at the supermarket or something, and then hope that the murderer goes to the supermarket. But Kant was very much against lying, very much against murder. It was just like this rule-based system that I don't care about consequences. I don't care about this. These things are wrong inherently in themselves. And I think this actually came as a response to David Hume with his is-ought problem, which is known in our field as Hume's guillotine, that one cannot derive an ought from an is. So saying, for example, that, oh, stealing is wrong, you can't necessarily say from that in Hume's mind, one ought not to steal. Now, I should clarify that I haven't read Hume yet. I am slowly working up the ladder with the other million things that I'm doing. But Kant was mortified by this, and he created a rule-based system, and that's what deontology is. It's just, I think it is, in a way, I think it goes in the consequentialist field, but not even necessarily. I think it's just, again, more of like a rule-based system, how I would describe it. Hopefully, Cliff's hearing this and he's like, oh, yeah, John, you got this. And yeah, so it's pretty much a rule-based ethical system is how I would answer that. So now that we've answered Abel's questions, who is also, here in chat, thank you for those questions, Abel, you sexy son of a bitch. I think we can move on.
Honestly, I'm most disappointed that he didn't ask the full roster of 4 questions. He left it at 2.
I know. What the hell, Abel? I know I just complimented you a second ago, but seriously, pack a full punch next month. Because I did enjoy these 2 questions. I'd be curious what else you'd have to ask.
Up next, we have 3 questions from Iconic6494. First question is for both of us. We've got a roster of 4 guys here: Brian Cage, Samoa Joe, Rusev, and Shibata. And the game is, pick the one to defend you while the rest try to brutally stomp you to death.
Okay, now who do I have to choose from? Because that sounds horrible.
Brian Cage, who I'm picking. Brian Cage is my choice. Samoa Joe, Rusev, and Shibata.
You know what? Fuck it. Samoa Joe. Just I'll pick
Dude,
him.
I want Lucha Thanos on my side, brother.
Yeah, but Joe is like, WWE's calling him an assassin. To me, he'll always be the Samoan submission machine. I trust him to beat all their asses. So yeah, go Joe. And then, yeah, hopefully he murders them all.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Brian Cage. He's the tallest, he's the biggest, he's the heaviest, he's the most athletic of the four. He's really just the best choice. I'm not really sure how you can even justify your answer.
I mean, look, Cage is fantastic. I'm just saying, man, Joe is absolutely vicious. I'd go to war with him anytime. I ain't worried.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you pick Joe, it's going to have to be a war because it's going to be a struggle. But Brian Cage will just eviscerate everyone for me.
Hey, well, we made our picks. Let's move on.
Second question here. This is going to be the fun one. Johnny Scumbag question.
Ooh, is this the one that you were hyping up last night?
Yes, it is. I want you to match the dirt bag to the punishment they should receive.
Ooh.
We have 4 available dirt bags and 4 available punishments. Dirt bags 1 through 4 are Eric Bischoff, Dixie Carter, Kevin Dunn, and Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette. Okay.
Punishments are number 1, fed to Matanza. Number 2, buried alive. Number 3, locked in an empty room to starve to death. And number 4, beaten to death by hardcore wrestling fans.
Okay, Cornette's getting fed to Matanza because fuck his criticisms of Lucha Underground, and that's poetic irony I cannot pass up. Eric Bischoff gets beaten to death by hardcore wrestling fans, even though he actually did defend indie wrestling recently, which surprised me, and I agreed with him. Still, though, it'd be hilarious. And then Kevin Dunn and Dixie Carter were the other 2. I'd say Kevin Dunn... Because, see, I really don't hate Dixie. Like, her only crime really is that she's incompetent. Whereas I feel like these other people really have been dicks to certain people and just cruel and stuff like that. So I think
See, and that's how I feel about Bischoff out of these 4. I feel like Bischoff hasn't really done anything intentionally malicious.
Right. I mean, I hear stories of certain wrestlers, like, of course, the way he fired Stone Cold and, like, some other behavior. I think the starving to death is worse because I feel like that would be more prolonged, wouldn't it? Because when you're buried alive, you have a limited amount of oxygen. So, I'd give Dunn the starving and Dixie the buried alive. I'd give her the least painful because she pisses me off the least. But yeah, those 3, oh, delicious. So good. So yeah, I really appreciate that question. That was just absolutely wonderful.
See, and if I had to kind of hand these out, I would probably feed Bischoff to Matanza, just because I feel like that would be one of the least painful of these 4. And I don't really have that much of a problem with Bischoff. I would bury Dixie Carter. I would lock Kevin Dunn in a room and let him starve to death while attempting to gnaw his way out with his Bucky Beaver teeth. And I would let wrestling fans beat the shit out of Jim Cornette until he says, "Please don't, I'm sorry," and then keep going anyway.
Dude, I'm sorry for laughing like this. It's just when you describe that with Cornette, that's pretty much the fate of any, like, dictator that gets overthrown, especially recently. Like, the mob of people come for them. No, please, I'm sorry. Ah! And then they just plunge in them. And I can just picture Cornette being like, no, wait, I'm sorry. I mean, I was still kind of right? Bah!
I just imagine this big mob of fans coming after Cornette, and he'd be like, oh, fuck. And then they get into him, and they start beating him up, and he's like, you sons of bitches know I'm still right.
And then somebody gets, like, a sob serve from Dairy Queen, just pours it on his head or something to end it. Bring it all full circle.
Yeah, the new version of pissing on someone's grave is just soft serve on the face.
Exactly.
Third and final question from Iconic. With all the recent call-ups, do you feel that NXT has lost its star power and quality? And I'll go first on this. No, I don't. If anything, I feel like their star power has gone up by quite a bit, not because they got, all the call-ups, because they've replaced them with bigger stars than the people that got called up. and the quality is on a little bit of an uptick. It's not great anymore. It's not as great as it was pre-London, but it's definitely on an uptick now compared to where it's been for the last year or two.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with you. Like, if anything, and I know I voiced this before, I feel like WWE has an oversaturation problem, and it's only intensifying because now you're going to be getting Kyle O'Reilly soon and Adam Cole. But the quality of NXT, like, that is one thing, because you know how you and I have listened to those Triple H conference calls? Like, if I was to get to be on one, I would ask him, because I make a distinction between classical NXT ever since they decided to take it seriously as a brand and like this newer NXT where it's more about like these established indie stars taking over. And I miss the days where you could have champions like Big E and Bo Dallas go on these runs, especially Bo. Like that's a champion that always stands out in my mind when I think of the best of classical NXT. But now you've like got these guys like Bobby Roode, who's 40 and who is beyond established, is NXT champion. And yeah, I do
Yeah, the
think
last three NXT champions have an average age of like 37 something.
yeah, and it's like I just want those fresher faces. You know, I want those talents that you'd think. That's why I was really hoping Ty Dillinger. I mean, I'm glad he got called up, obviously, but I was hoping he would end Rude's reign originally because to me, Ty exemplifies that kind of classical NXT kind of spirit. You know, working his way up from the tag team and everything. And yeah, I hope NXT returns to that, but it seems like they have no signs of slowing down where they're going. So I'd say star power, again, oversaturation problem, and quality has definitely taken a hit. That's my answer to that.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on, can't we? Up to our 4 questions from Paul. PW Gregory.
Ooh, nice.
Question 1. What were your favorite Spill.com moments?
Oh, God. Do you want to go first on this one? Or should I?
Sure, I can go first because really I only have one that I really remember. Because the Justin Bieber Never Say Never getting the like haha we're funny better than sex score was actually the last movie review I watched on Spill. The big memory that I have is the one and only movie that they gave a better than sex that I fully agreed deserved the better than sex grade, and that was District 9.
Yes, I fondly remember their District 9 review. Their Wall-E review was great because Corey had this joke at the end where he's like, oh, because Wall-E was all about like environmentalism and stuff. And he's like, oh, I find it funny that this message of overconsumerism comes from Disney. And like Carlisle and Martin, and I'm trying to remember Cyrus. They're all kind of looking at him. Cyrus is wearing the I love Disney, but spelled with like 2 Z's and N and double E's. And he's like, oh, I wish that mouse would come after me. I'd whoop his ass. And then towards the end of the video review, because I used to love their animated video reviews, he says, you know, there's a lot of great visual gags, but nevertheless, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give it matinee because there were parts that dipped, and then you can hear like this punching sound effect, and it's Mickey Mouse punching Corey in the face until he changes it to full price. So that was great. Their Taken video review was great because, you know, they're like, oh, Liam Neeson's a badass and this and that. Up was great because they gave that a better than sex. And actually, that review I thought was so good. That same night, I told Christy, hey, do you want to go to the movies? Because our grandmother was out. She was out at the casino. So Christy was kind of like my babysitter. And I'm like, oh, let's go on our own adventure. Let's go to the movies. Let's go see Up. And I owe it all to that Spill review because Corey said that this film reminds you that animation and filmmaking isn't art. Yeah, I love Spill, man. Oh, their Benjamin Button review, where they're like, the big moral of the story is no matter how you age, whether you age forward or reverse, we all die shitting our pants. Yeah, to me, Spill has a lot of great moments, and those are just some of my favorites. I'm really glad that they're still going under the banner of Double Toasted with these new guys, you know, and Goodwin and Gertz, because they're just wonderful. So, yeah, those are my answers to that. I guess we can move on to our next question.
All right, next question from PW Gregory. Which TV show are you glad you stuck through the bad times? And conversely, which ones do you wish you'd given up on?
Ooh. You know, I honestly, I wish I would have given up on Fuller House season 1 because I am a Full House fan. That is a guilty pleasure for me, absolutely. But season 2, that was too much cheese even for me, which should terrify everyone. Because Ashton, better than most, knows the amount of cheese I can take. And when I pretty much become lactose intolerant to a program, that is just mortifying. One that I'm glad I didn't give up on. I'd say Orphan Black. Yeah, because that was one I didn't know if I was going to jibe with at first because it did cloning, and I'm not really big like on certain sci-fi. And I was a bit like tentative at first, but it ended up being a really good show. The sad thing about that is I've dropped off. I think that they're probably in like season 5 or 6 by now, and I feel like maybe the last season I watched was 3, maybe 2. So I'm quite behind on that. But yeah, that's a really good show because the one actress does all the clones, and it really shows her range. It's incredible. So yeah, if you guys have never heard of it, Orphan Black is one that I'm definitely glad I stuck with, and it's an amazing show. I really should go back into it because that just wonderful. What about you, though? I'm curious about your answers.
I actually have a really well thought out answer to this because I was thinking about this while you were talking. So I have 2 that I'm really glad I stuck through. I have 2 that I'm really glad that I stuck through. The one big one that I'm really glad that I stuck through is Mr. Robot, because there was a point in season 2 that like this big reveal happened, and it was like, oh, we're actually in a prison this whole time, and I was like, oh, really? Like, we're doing this? But I stuck to it, and I thoroughly ended up enjoying the rest of the season, and I'm very, very intrigued by where it goes. And something similar actually happened in a series that John and I recently binge watched, The Magicians. It was episode 4 or 5 or 6, and the episode was basically taking place inside the main character's mind, but it wasn't necessarily portrayed that way from the beginning, because at the beginning, and for the first a good like 60% of this episode, we were given the impression that the main character was in a psych ward, and that all of the shit that he had been living through over the last few episodes was all in his imagination, and that he's actually a crazy person in a psych ward, and that all the shit that we've grown to kind of know and love through the first 5 or 4 episodes were just his imagination. And I was under the impression that this entire series was going to change from what it was to like a psychological study of the mentally handicapped. And I couldn't get into that, and I hated that. But by the end of the episode, they won me back over, and we stuck it out, and we're completely through season 2 now. And it's just a wonderful show, and I would highly recommend it to literally anybody. 2 shows that I'm actually glad I gave up on, which is not necessarily part of the question, but I will answer the full question. 2 shows I'm actually really glad I gave up on, though. Walking Dead, which I gave up on after season 2, and I wish I would have given up on it after season 1, because it did nothing but get worse after season 1. Season 2 was okay, and it had some cool moments, but not worth watching the whole season for those few cool moments. And then season 3 was just a disaster. And I've heard very few really good things about it since then, because, again, it's like if you have an 8-episode season, there are 2 cool episodes and 6 filler episodes. And I don't have the time for that shit. And the other show that I'm glad I gave up on, and I think John might even sign on to this, was Arrow. Because we watched the 3 first full seasons and ended it at the end of season 3, and I have no intention of going back, and I'm happy about it because I heard season 4 blows.
I heard season 4 blows too, but I might actually dive in the pool, even if you're not gonna join me. Like I'll sludge through season 4, because if season 5 is as epic as everybody's saying it is, I can get to that toxic waste. I think every show has a low point, but Arrow was so good for so long, and I'm just like, damn, do I? I mean, fuck, I couldn't even get into the Flash. Fuck the Flash. I'm glad Barry's mom died. But yeah, I don't know with Arrow. I have a more uneasy relationship. Like, I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I don't blame you at the same time, because I feel like the season 3 finale was so good. Why not end on a high note and go out high, right? So yeah, I can certainly respect that answer for sure.
And then the one show that I wish I'd given up on a lot sooner, and I hate to say this, but I have to because the last 2 seasons were just such trash, The League.
Yeah, you know what though? I'm still glad we watched that together, because yeah, it definitely got weaker, but man, that first season, like what, the first like 2 or 3 seasons, I want to say.
The first 3 seasons, I think, were where that was a really, really entertaining, good show.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I think I just won twice. God, I love Ruxin so much. But yeah. Honestly, too, a show that I'm glad I stuck with, and it's funny because we are like revisiting that ground is Silicon Valley. And the only reason I say that is because I didn't know if it would be a show for me, given like the characters it was about with the whole coding in Silicon Valley. I'm like, I don't really know how I'm supposed to relate to this, but the characters are just so fucking funny. And I love the relationships that, yeah, I'm glad I really gave myself the experience. Plus, Mike Judge is behind it, which if you love Beavis and Butthead or Idiocracy, like, you know, it's a guaranteed winner, I'm sure. So, yeah, good stuff.
All right. Fourth and final, actually third question from PW Gregory. What one thing does each wrestling company do better than the other three? And he actually gave us a list of 4 companies, and he wants us to say what each one does better than the other 3. Out of WWE, New Japan, Lucha Underground, and PWG.
I'd say WWE makes me appreciate other wrestling any more than those 3 promotions.
No, see, for me, WWE, the thing that they do better than the other 3 is marketing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, being completely serious, WWE is like this. There's a word. It's like a media conglomerate to me.
It's
like,
self-perpetuating.
Yeah, I mean, even before the Morrow controversy, they even had their own little carved out time on ESPN. Yeah. Like I mean, they have their tendrils in everything.
And recently, ESPN wrote an article about Lucha Underground.
Ooh, they're coming over to the superior side. I like that. New Japan. To me, New Japan actually does best because I know a lot of people like conflate like pro wrestling with, oh, it's a sport in its own way. Like if anybody can make that work, it is New Japan. I love the way they present their matches. I love the way they present their performers.
To me, the thing New Japan does better than the other 3 is bring credibility to pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's really what I'm trying to articulate too. Like I just think the way they present it, it's like it's right up there to me with like your most stacked UFC kind of card. Like, oh, you can't miss.
Well, yeah, and because the cool thing too is that like they not only do they like to have their main performers have legitimate MMA backgrounds, so that you can legitimately say like, yeah, these guys have experience in real fighting. They are real fighters. They have credibility. But they also they not only do they treat it as a sport in front of the audience, they treat it as an actual real sport, even behind the scenes, because like the young lions aren't just young lions on the shows. They're young lions backstage. They are trained by the pro wrestlers. They are, cleaning up the dojos and getting them their meals and all that stuff. So that's a full-on lifestyle. It is a legitimate, like, they treat it like it's a real freaking sport, even outside of when they're in front of cameras.
And I love them for that. I love them for that because if you're going to do it, you have to commit 150%. And I can honestly say New Japan does that. And with Lucha Underground, the answer's so easy for me every time. They're storytelling.
Oh, like, see, that's an easy one, but I also want to say cinematography for LU.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think both those things go hand in hand. Right, and I just think they work so well off each other.
WWE doesn't have to improve on storytelling, but if they would start using the camera angles in post credit or post editing filters and some of the camera tricks and stuff like that Lucha Underground uses, they could easily one up Lucha Underground in the cinematography category while still being highly inferior in the storytelling category.
Right. It's just, to me, and I even tweeted this earlier today, I just think Lucha Underground, the way it tells stories and the way it approaches what it is so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you, I mean, I obviously don't want anything to happen to Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground for 100 years, Morty. And stuff like that. But I guarantee you there are going to be more promotions like Lucha Underground. If we don't start seeing more promotions like how Lucha Underground operates in the next 10, 20 years, if not sooner, I will be shocked. Because I just think they're at the cutting edge of like how to tell stories and in terms of presentation. And yeah, they easily do that better in my mind than WWE or New Japan. So yeah, WWE has the marketing, New Japan has the credibility, and LU for me has the storytelling, just to give a one-word soundbite for each. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, yeah, that's PWG in-ring work, just kind of match quality in general. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Ready to move on to our next question, our fourth and final PW Gregory question.
All right, let's do it.
When would you consider, or not when, Jesus Christ, I can't read. What would you consider your favorite wrestler's biggest flaw?
Oh.
No cop-outs.
I know.
You can't just be like, oh, he has too many abs.
Okay, first of all, that's not even a thing. I'm sorry that the rest of the world is too out of shape to appreciate it. Second of all, I mean, I'm just going to say what he's always said, and thankfully he is getting better, but he's by no means perfect. I mean, the mic work. I adore Johnny Mundo, and I do think he's gotten better in a cinematic setting, but in front of a live crowd, his promos get the heat, but they're not anything you'd write home about. So yeah, I definitely say the mic work for Johnny Mundo still, even though, again, it's better than his WWE work by far. So I know, Ashton, you were even deliberating if you even had a quote-unquote favorite wrestler, but then I think you decided on Naito, so I'm curious what you think Naito's biggest flaw is. And again, no cop-outs.
No, honestly, if Naito, if I had to pick a biggest flaw for him, it's that from like a suspension of disbelief standpoint, he doesn't do enough in his matches to make it seem like he's actually trying to win the match. He's too cutesy. He poses too much. He's too, like it's too much showmanship, not enough actually trying to win. But that's also part of why I love him.
Right, right. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for you because it's like, oh, I really love this thing about this guy, but I could see how, for most, that would be perceived as a flaw.
Exactly.
Right. I can appreciate that.
All right, so moving on, we have two questions from Tech Guru, aka John Madigan. First is, of the teams that did not make it last year, which teams do you think are the most likely to get to Super Bowl 52?
Yeah, I am so out of my element with this question, but are the Denver Broncos still as dominant as I remember them, or have they kind of waned in recent
Well,
seasons?
they're still really good on defense, but their offense is not really anything to write home about.
I'd still maybe go with them, though, because I am a believer that a good defense wins championships, and if they have a strong defense, I would say them.
Although they did lose DeMarcus Ware, that might hurt them on defense.
And, I mean, you were really heaping praise on the Minnesota Vikings. I might as well pencil them in. They may be getting ready to explode then if they've got all the pieces in place. So
So
yeah.
if I had to make like a dream Super Bowl 52 for teams that weren't in Super Bowl 51, it would be the Indianapolis Colts and the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, cool.
I think the Colts, honestly, I don't even think the Colts are doing that well. Like, they're not drafting particularly well. They're not really exceptional anywhere except for quarterback, which is the position that matters most. But their offensive line is getting better, and their receiving core are really good. And they added another good receiver in Kamar Aiken this year. And their defense is going to be a lot better this year with Malik Hooker playing deep midfield safety. So I honestly think that the Colts are one of those fringe teams where if they can just have that one season where everything just kind of clicks, they will be Super Bowl contenders. And then the Seahawks are just perennial contenders, and they got boned by injuries last year. So, of course, they're going to be back in contention this year.
All right, man. Well, good answers there. Like I said, I was really out of my element, so there's not much more I can add. We can
But
move
honestly,
on.
I want a Falcons-Patriots rematch for the Falcons to get their revenge on those stealing pricks.
Oh, you and me both, man. Fuck them so hard. We'll see, man. We'll see.
All right. So then, second question from Tech Guru: what WWE wrestler do you think would have more success if he left and went to New Japan?
What WWE superstar would have more success if he went to New Japan?
Yeah,
Cesaro, for me.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to Cesaro, or for me, honestly, Sheamus, because I was never a big fan of Michael Elgin, but he goes to New Japan and he starts to implement that stiff work style, and that's Sheamus in a nutshell. That's exactly how he is too. So like that team, Cesaro is just like the guys who should be in New Japan right now.
Yeah, you know what? Oddly enough, I would certainly agree with you there, partner. So yeah.
All right, we have two questions from David Fanara. First question: if you could master any musical instrument, what would it be?
The harp.
Ooh,
Yeah.
getting fancy on us. Okay.
Yeah, you know, with me having a girlfriend and everything, I'd love to impress her, but she just walks in the door and I'm playing the harp naked for her. Yeah, I'm set for life, baby. Either that or the piano, because I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but yeah, I've always been fascinated by the harp, so I wanted to go with that. What about you?
Bass guitar, buddy. Bass guitar. I want to
God.
learn. I want to learn how to play actual guitar as well. But if I had to pick one instrument, it would be the bass.
Yeah, I like the way you think, man. It's like, oh yeah, the harp's nice. We're trying to impress one person, but like, I can make money. I could do all this stuff with bass guitars. So yeah, I respect that, man.
I
that's some
think
nice
bass
one-trick
guitar
thinking.
might be the most underappreciated instrument because, like, a lot of like the most iconic guitar lines of all time are from bass guitar, not necessarily just the electric stuff. Like, obviously, like, oh, Sweet Child of Mine and a bunch of Led Zeppelin stuff, that's all electric guitar. But then, like, you get to like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea, like, yeah, he works the shit out of that bass. I mean, Rush has some iconic bass lines. Bass guitar is highly under. And even like I know I've played the White Stripes song "Seven Nation Army" on an electric guitar before, but you could nail that on bass too, and it would sound great.
Yeah, I really appreciate that answer, man. That's really cool.
And honestly, playing bass just looks more fun because you get to slap the shit out of the strings.
Yeah, that's true too, man.
I
Absolutely.
would be a slap player. I wouldn't be a picker. I'd be a slap player, man. I would be slapping those things with my thumb all day, every day. It'd be so much fun.
There you go, man. There you go. All right.
So, second question from David Finaro. What do you miss the most about being a kid?
Oh God, the optimism. No, I mean, really. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna stand by that because, like, when I was a kid, going past my shitty childhood, so like, I still count a kid at like 7 years old, obviously. So like, from then on, just being able to enjoy the day, man. Like, what am I gonna have for breakfast? Oh, I can't wait for these cartoons to be on. Seeing the best in people. Like, getting old sucks. Because, yeah, you just think, like, wow, all of you are shit, and the people that I like, you're just tolerable shit, maybe at best. So, yeah. Like, I am a very cynical asshole. I would be the first one to tell you that. But, yeah, I really miss it. I think I'm starting to get it back because I'm really meeting wonderful people, and I'm doing wonderful things, and I'm very thankful for where my life is right now, and I really have nothing to complain about. But yeah, there just when you're a kid, it comes easy, to be loving, to be optimistic, to do all this stuff, and you take joy in the simplest things. Whereas now, like, I just look at it and I'd be like, yeah, whatever, and I'd want to do something else. So yeah, I just think it's that. I think innocence is too cliche, but maybe that is really what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's definitely what I miss most about my childhood years, where I thought anything was possible. And then you learn that no, it's not, and you're probably going to die alone. So enjoy that. So yeah, what's your answer after I totally killed the room?
I mean, really, I feel like I have the most generic answer of all. The thing I miss most about being a kid is not having actual responsibilities ever.
Yeah. Oh man. Jesus Christ, I thought I was bad, but there are like 2 answers in chat that are dark as hell. Let's move on.
Paul and James, right?
Yeah, Paul and James. Oh my God.
All right, we've got 2 questions from DBK, and we're in our final 10, people. These are the final 10 questions. DBK with 2, Ben Jr. with 4, and Alex Foster with 4. Let's get into DBK. If you're a leader of a tribe, what wrestlers would you choose? From any company. He specifies any company.
How about you go first on this one? I'm curious.
Well, I already said I'm the leader of the Eagle tribe, so I mean, I already have Phoenix, the Dragon Azteca Jr. Let's do 5 total. I'll add Flamita from CMLL and AAA, and the guy that was Nightclaw at one point as Flamita. I'll add Will Ospreay because Eagle Ospreay, why the hell not? And I will add Dragon Lee because we already have El Dragon Azteca Jr., so why not add another dragon to the tribe?
Yeah, if I was to do a tribe, God, I guess maybe, I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. I would do the wolf tribe. I'd be sexy as hell.
There
We'd
is
have
no
PG.
wolf tribe, you goof.
Well, so I have to use a Lucha Underground tribe. I can't make my own tribe.
Of course.
Damn that. God, that sucks.
Oh my god. I mean,
No,
you could just take the deer tribe, that's like part of what the wolf tribe would be in, right?
Well, I mean, Ashton, if I wanted an inadequate tribe, I could have just made one around your face. I think.
Or I guess the jaguar tribe, that's kind of the wolf thing too.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking Jaguar tribe, but then I only get Puma and Nightclaw, and really just Puma, because Nightclaw is like off the grid. But then if I was adding wrestlers, I guess I'd bring Nightclaw back to the fold.
You could have Bengala.
Oh yeah, but he sucks. Yeah, what would I even want to do? No, because that's a tiger. So
I mean, you could have Johnny Mundo in your tribe. He doesn't have a tribe. It's all about,
You're
just
so
picking
right. Wait a minute. Yeah, none of them actually belong to a tribe. So yeah, Worldwide Underground under the banner of the Jaguar tribe, and then we smoke all of you. That's perfect. Well, I'm done.
Dude, a Worldwide Underground, all 4 of them plus plus Puma, that's an amazing 5-person tribe.
I mean, fuck Puma. I'd kick him out. Johnny Mundo's the best wrestler in the world. Why would I need Puma? I'll toss his worthless ass aside. He's getting arrogant anyway. He's probably gonna die.
But we already
soon.
know Puma's in the Jaguar tribe.
Yeah, but we could excommunicate him though. Factions do that all the time.
I know, but then you need a 5th. You can't just have 4 people.
But counting me though, like I am the 5th person.
No, it's you plus 5.
Fine. We'll take Nightclaw then.
But I already have Flamita. It's the same person.
Well, then he'll work double duty. So, yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Why won't you just take Puma? He's amazing.
Well, because, again, I'm thinking he's going to die soon. I don't want to see weakness in my tribe. Fuck that.
Oh.
So,
what about Ricky Mandel? He's just as big a Johnny Mundo fan as you.
Well, that's exactly why we can't have him. I'm not sharing Johnny Mundo. I mean, Taya's cool.
Well, I was gonna say you're gonna have to share him with Taya and the other 2 guys.
Look, Taya is lovely, and I understand bromances, okay? Because all 4 of us, that's me, Jack, PJ, and Johnny, we all, yes, I remembered, we would all share a man cave, and, Taya obviously is the perfect woman. I'm not going to tell her no. But yeah, Ricky Mandel, look, I'm the Mundo mark in the tribe. Why the fuck do I need your bitch ass? Just so you can
I think
comment?
everyone in the tribe is a Mundo mark, even including Mundo himself.
But he's perfection, though. Of course he's going to be a mark for himself. He's not James.
What are you going to do when Ricky Mandel ends up being the 5th member of Worldwide Underground?
I'll be saying over and over into my pillow that it should have been me, but that's okay. I don't need Ricky Mandel to look at every selfie we post on Instagram and be like, wow, guys, what great photos. Yeah, of course, Ricky, we were fucking in them, you fucking noob. Oh my god. You know what? Fine.
Wow, you just called an actual real-life person a noob. Are you embarrassed?
No, because I'd call your face the noob too. You can all get some. But you know what? I'll take Puma back simply so he could be a doormat for when Johnny Mundo wakes up every morning, because that would be, what's it called? Yeah, his place. So there's your fucking tribe.
Okay, well, up next we have our 4 questions. Actually, second question from DBK. You get to spend an entire day with a WWE superstar, and this is directed specifically at you, John.
Oh.
You get to spend an entire day with a WWE superstar, but you have to choose between Jinder Mahal, Bobby Roode, or Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, and if I had the money, I'd pay him. We'd go to Sammy's house and beat the shit out of him and his family. So, yeah, just be a great fucking day spent if you ask me. So Brock Lesnar for the win. He'd be my hired mercenary for the day.
Okay, up next we had 4 questions from Ben Jr. First one, do you think rankings would work in the WWE as a way to establish new contenders?
You go first.
Happily. No, it wouldn't. And it's been tried multiple times in multiple companies, and it never works because the promotion always has an ulterior motive to their actual bookings, and it makes fans catch on too quickly. You want to be able to control the narrative, and by putting out actual rankings of wrestlers, you're allowing the fans to control the narrative, because then, this guy's ranked higher than that guy, so why isn't he getting the title shot? And more complaining would happen. So no, it's not going to work. It's never worked. It didn't even work for Evolve, and that company was literally built on the premise of having actual rankings where wins and losses get kept track of. They've since evolved, see what I did there, to not actually implement that anymore.
Yeah, I would love to argue this point with you, but you can't argue against empirical reality. Like, one of the worst implementations I saw of it was, of course, in TNA, and they quickly abandoned it because I think it was fan-based a lot of the time, and fans kept voting for the same people because they wanted to see those people in the main event. And TNA's like, well, fuck that. We got to get Sting back in the main event. So they did away with it. Like, I love it on paper, and in fact, it's funny because when I'm saying about this, a lot of people say about systems like communism. I love it on paper, but in reality, it never works. And yeah, so I mean, I love the idea. I love the idea of it, but execution's always fallen short. So I have to agree with Ashton here.
Yeah. Second question from Ben Jr. Jinder Mahal is champion, but how long do you see that title reign lasting, and who do you see being the person to take the title off of him?
I'm sticking with my guns now that my hopes and dreams of Ruru as WWE champion have been effectively ruined. I actually see Jinder holding it until SummerSlam. So I think it'll be somewhat of a respectable run because that won't be until August. And I still think Nakamura is going to take it off him to a huge pop. So yeah, SummerSlam, Nakamura. What about you?
Yeah, that's... I don't know about SummerSlam. I don't even know about Nakamura. Shit, man. I don't think Nakamura is going to win the title until 2018, to be honest.
Right.
I'll say Randy Orton at Money in the Bank, actually.
Oh, so you think Jinder's just going to lose it straight back? That's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm convinced that they're going to go with this whole Orton Cena who gets to 17 first story. So put the title back on Randy and have him lose it immediately to someone who just won Money in the Bank.
You know what? We'll see. I mean, here's the thing about your answer is that that's nowhere near implausible to me. I could very easily see them do something like that. At the same time, though, I could see WWE, because of Vince's ego and WWE being backed into a corner and them seeing really fixated on India, to try and give Jinder a legitimate run. But, you know, we'll see which way they go for sure.
Did you ever ask Ben Jr. about this favorite stories question or no?
I did, and I think, isn't he the mastermind, though, in chat?
Yeah.
So we can ask him now. Did you mean storylines or actual books? Because unless you answered and I just didn't see the reply, we still need clarification on that. So, yeah.
So I'll tell you what, we'll let you answer that question, and while you're answering that, we'll move on to your fourth question, and we'll come back to that afterwards. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump as president so far?
You know what? I'm just going to give the very succinct, cynical answer. He's pretty much the same as every other leader. He's just more overt about it. Like, practices that other leaders would keep secret, he amazingly cannot keep his mouth shut. And so there's kind of a transparency going on, because if you want to know what's going on in the government, just follow him on Twitter. But yeah, like all these people that are saying, oh, he's so awful, this and that. It's not that they're wrong. It's just that I love that all this criticism is coming to one man when even people as well polished and loved as Obama, because I know I have friends that are like, oh, I miss Obama. I don't. He did some disgusting shit like anybody else. He just may have done some more shit that was palatable to you. So, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I'm sorry if I sound like a dick, but that's just my honest answer. Like, yeah, of course he's horrible, but how is he any different from any other leader? What, because he's not as polished? Because he doesn't do the job, quote unquote, as well? Because he's not benefiting you? No, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but everybody's a piece of shit in a system that doesn't work for you. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Yeah. So, I was just going to say that he's pretty much doing exactly what I expected, and that is to say literally nothing, because I wasn't really expecting Donald Trump to come in and be like, oh, I'm the president now, I have a job to do, I'm going to fix all this stuff. Or worse, I'm the president now, I have a job to do, I'm going to make everything benefit me, because he's not even doing that. The thing is, like, the Congress, the House, and the Senate are all controlled by Republicans. Donald Trump doesn't have jack shit to do with anything that's happening right now. It's pretty much all just House Republicans, and they're awful, and they're scumbags, and they're putting their own personal wallets over the welfare of the people that they're supposed to represent. But really, Donald Trump is spending most of his time on golf courses, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I mean, he even said, like, I didn't think the job would be this hard. I miss my old life. Well, gee, that shocks absolutely no one now, does it? Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Okay, back to the stories. He said actual books. So let's talk about our favorite actual books. I feel like we've answered this question like 2 or 3 times already.
Yeah, we may have. I mean, for me, Crime and Punishment is my all-time favorite novel. Dostoevsky's a beast, and I know James is in chat. That's something me and James would agree on. We both adore Dostoevsky. He's just wonderful. The young adult fiction of the Shadow Children sequence, or a series, I should say, excuse me. Amazing series of books. To me, that was my Harry Potter. When everybody around me was like, oh, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, I could not wait for the latest Shadow Children's book to come out, because that was just such a great story and such a great critique of totalitarianism. And yeah, I mean, I read a lot of philosophy stuff. Any of like Plato's dialogues, particularly his Symposium and his Republic, because they have more of a literary flair. They are just amazing. I thoroughly enjoy them. So yeah, those are just a few works there. Ashton, I feel like you have answered this before. We have answered questions like this before, but yeah, what are your favorite books?
The Harry Potter books and Moneyball and The Blind Side. I think that's about it.
Yeah, so I guess that's that question. I guess we can move on.
Yeah. Up next, we had 4 questions from Alex Foster. This is the home stretch, people. And we're going to answer the first one, but it's not a we, it's a me, because it's intended for a debuting character, Ashton Scumbag.
Oh, I am so excited for this when I saw that. Oh, man, this is going to be good.
So because we already got your rant on the Heart of the Cards, he changed this question on Twitter. He was originally going to ask me about how, like, oh, you just lost to Yugi because of the Heart of the Cards rant. And you already kind of did that, so we just changed it up. The new question for Ashton Scumbag is, Raditz is on the ground, bleeding out. What is your message to him? And I want to get the point across that the scumbag version of me isn't like John. I'm not animated. I'm not this over-the-top, angry, ranty character. The scumbag version of me is apathetic to horrible things. So the scumbag version of me, the message to Raditz would just be like, wow, dude, you really are the biggest failure here. You deserve this.
Short, sweet, and to the point. Gotta respect that.
All right. So second question, and the rest are for both of us. Second question, book Rafi and Dirty Randy as a tag team in the WWE.
The raunchy Billy and Chuck, best friends that just hit on women, do a shit ton of drugs, and win a lot of championships. It's really that simple for me. What about you? How would you book these guys?
I would book these guys as Breezango without the effeminate vibes.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. I love that we pretty much have similar visions for them in a way. But yeah, that totally works.
All right, third question. Name a WWE storyline that you hated at first, but over time grew to love.
Hated it first, but grew to love. That is an interesting one.
I have one.
You know what? I have one too. I'd say the Sheamus Santino storyline, only because that would branch off to Morrison getting involved, and while I had huge reservations, that actually did get him in the WWE title picture. So yeah, that was one that I started out hating, because I'm like, oh god, they're really gonna get him in this. But then seeing that it actually got him to that main event level, at least briefly, yeah, I grew to love it. So that's my answer. What about you?
Oh shit, what was it? I just had it in my brain and now it left me because you talked.
Let's see if we can get it back.
I'm thinking, man. I had something. I think it was involving women, but I don't remember. It wasn't that old. I don't think it might have been. Oh God, come on. Think. I had it. It wasn't Daniel Bryan. It was something else. It was kind of recent, but not super recent. Oh, son of a bitch. I don't remember. You know what? We have to move on. Because otherwise I'm going to take up way too much time trying to think of it. Son of a bitch. What was it?
Did it have anything to do with AJ Lee? Because you said Bryan and you said women, so.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't her. Oh, I remember now. Bo Dallas as NXT champion.
Oh, nice.
I hated that they put the title on him at first. I despised it. And he was a good guy at first, and it was horrible, and I hated it, and I hated him, and he was really, really young, and he couldn't cut a promo, and he was a mediocre wrestler, and I just couldn't stand it, and it was awful. And then he embraced the heeliness, and he was a douchebag, and he started calling Sami Zayn kid and telling him that he could grow up to be like him someday. And he was just this over-the-top douchebag heel that thought everyone loved him, and I grew to love him as well.
Excellent answer. Let's move on.
And it all culminated in that amazing scene in Full Sail with all the security trying to get him out of the arena when he lost the Loser Leaves NXT match.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Oh, thank Christ I managed to remember that. Okay, now we can get to our 64th and final question. Fourth and final question from Alex Foster. The last question of this Q&A. What is your favorite Dragon Ball Z abridged running joke?
Oh, running joke. You know what? I would classify this as a running joke. The whole charging the spirit bomb, and then the whole like, oh, did you hold a grudge? You know, you've only got to hold them off for like 7 or 8 minutes. And considering how I got my butt kicked, well, no, I'm sure you can handle it. So yeah, really all the stuff involving the spirit bomb, I think, is my favorite running joke, because they've done that, I think, like 2 or 3 times at this point. So yeah, good shit.
I've got 3, okay? So the first one is the Krillin owned count. I love that.
Yes.
The second one, Piccolo dodge, is great. And the third one, and the actual one that I would consider my favorite, is the running joke that Goku and Chi-Chi just have unrequited sex all day, every day, all the time. And then it actually wears Goku out to like an extreme degree.
Yeah, that's great too, dude. I love those answers.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we've made it through the 11th one. 11 monthly Q&As already. Up next this coming month, the June of 2017 Q&A will be the 1 month mark. It will be the 12th Q&A. Or 1 month, Christ, the 1 year mark. It'll be the year, the final, Q&A within the first year of us doing Q&As. So that'll be a lot of fun. I don't think we have anything else as far as like requests or anything for next week, but then the following week we'll probably end up doing Cliff's triple request. And this coming week, it doesn't really matter about requests because, guys, Lucha Underground is back.
Yes. So good. So
we've got SmackDown Live reactions on Tuesday, and then Wednesday it's a Lucha Underground quadruple feature. 3 p.m. Eastern Time, the final episode of Lucha Rewatch Season 2. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Lucha Underground Season 3 trailer revisit, as well as the Season 3 second half trailer, first time viewing and analysis, all combined into one. And then finally, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Lucha Underground Season 3 Episode 20 live reactions. And at 9 p.m., we will be coming right back from live reactions to do our TWitWoW review of the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be just a phenomenal Wednesday. And it's the second of 4 weeks that we're not touching NXT. We watched it this past week. We won't watch it this next week until after it's uploaded somewhere. But yeah, Lucha Underground is finally back. And then we have nothing planned for Thursday or Friday. So those are going to be kind of chill days. And John, I actually have been meaning to throw this at you. Would you like to reschedule Q&As from Fridays to Thursdays?
I'd be open to that.
I'm only asking because I know your family days are now Fridays.
Yeah, and it's not bad because you and I, we convened at like 7:15. I'm not opposed to Thursday though at all. So yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So it'd be the last Thursday of every month then. Yeah.
Yeah. So now instead of the last Friday of every month, Q&As will be on the last Thursday of every month, which means that the June Q&A will be on June 29th rather than 30th. Be sure, try and remember that. I know it's not super easy, but John's schedule, he had his family days, and I always want for him to enjoy his family days. I never want to try and cut those off early. So for the longest time, they were on Tuesdays, and since we moved to live reacting to SmackDown Live, he started doing his family days on Fridays, but now we have the Q&A that shows up, so we're going to have to do Q&As a day earlier, and I think that works out just fine. It's not that big of a deal. So Q&As are now going to be on the last Thursday of every month, first one being June 29th, and make sure you guys get your questions in once this video is fully processed. Check out the description. Make sure you leave a like, comment on the video once it's fully processed. Maybe tell us some answers to some of the questions that were asked that you would have given. Of course, be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet and click the bell to get notifications for when we go live and then when the video gets uploaded. Buy t-shirts that represent TWitWoW and the Scum Squad if you're at all interested in those. Or if you just want to request content, since, I mean, really, if you're here, it's because you enjoy our content. And if you want more of it, you can request more of it on our Patreon. All you got to do is donate a specified dollar amount, and we will do pretty much anything. We'll acquiesce to your whims, depending on how much you donate. And then, of course, social media. Follow both of us on Twitter, like the Facebook, check out the subreddit, and we will see you guys on Tuesday for our SmackDown Live actions. Forever and always, make sure that you stay tuned.